Hospital report has pride and dignity. Stop the New World Order. Welcome to HPANWO TV. Welcome to this, the 61st comments reply video. This is the video in which I, as the title suggests, reply to your comments. Now, the reason I make these videos is I don't have time to reply to your comments by text. All my videos have open comments boxes so far, and I feel obliged to reply when people take the time to post comments, especially when your comments are often very long and detailed and heartfelt, and you put a lot of thought into them, into your conversations with me, as you do the live stream chats as well. Now, I don't have time to type out comments for every single one of your comments you put on here, so I make these reply videos instead. Now, you may think this is not good enough because, well, my comments reply videos are very long. I'm not going to watch a 9-hour video, Ben, just to have one reply to one comment I've made. Well, you don't have to do that, because every time I reply to a comment, I put the following comment in reply to your comment, which is, thanks for your comment, it will be answered approximately within, and I give you a timestamp and the following of the upcoming reply to comments video, and I do one once per hour. So the longest you're going to have to watch of the comments reply video is 1 hour. Just go to the first hour, second hour, third hour, etc., and just keep watching, and eventually I'll reply to your comment. Now, you don't have to, as I said, another thing is, my comments are actually, just one moment, just going to do that. My comments are actually not, my comments reply videos are actually not, they're not actually, just doing the, there we go, right. They're not actually 9 hours any longer. They're much shorter than that. They've come down in duration quite considerably. So as a result, the reason is I do them more often. I do them much more often. So as a result, they are shorter. So it's not. I know some of you watch them all the way through. Some of you really enjoy these comments reply videos. You watch the whole thing. I personally enjoy doing them. So that's another reason. I think a good enough reason to want to do them, I think. So let us begin immediately with the last comment posted under the last comments after I finished the last comments reply video, and it is, let's have a look, going back here, it is Martin Taylor on reply to comment 60. Ben, you're off to Blackpool. Is that the Awakening conference with Andrew Collins and Giorgio of Ancient Aliens? Yes, it is. And I did go there, and I made a video called A Streetcar Named Stargate, which you've probably seen by now. Martin Taylor said as a reply to his own comments, Jimmy Jean is saying you're going to be on doing a show together to catch up on everything. The Freaky Friday crew, yay! Yes, I am, Jimmy. I'm going to have to put the fan on. Sorry if that's going to be disturbing people in terms of noise, but I have no choice. It's just too bloody hot here. Yes, I'm going to be on Jimmy's show at some point. I have to arrange that with him. I've not actually spoken to him for a while, but I will. Okay, so I'm looking forward to that. Reply to comment 60. Carol Hansen just gives me a list of symbols. I'm not sure what that means, but thanks, Carol, for commenting. Same video recording. You get more feedback than Hendrix, Ben. At least I don't type my keyboard with my teeth. And the crafty nihilist says, ha ha ha, that's a good one. That's a good one, guys. Gary Robinson, always a very dedicated commenter, on reply to comment 60. Hey Ben, this is a bit random, but a while back when Kev Baker passed away, Richie Allen had Charlie Robinson, the author of The Octopus of Global Control, on his show. At the end, Richie gave him some time to talk about Kev, who had just passed away, and he admitted that he didn't know much about Kev, but he did know he was a prolific broadcaster, and he asked people to donate to Kev's GoFundMe. This wasn't a rushed gesture. Richie took his time and showed some real respect to Kev. Last week, Richie had a phone in show with a guy from Northern Ireland called in and recommended that people look at Kev's back catalogue of shows, as he was one of the best esoteric broadcasters of all time. I can well believe it, yeah. Richie's tone of voice suddenly changed, and he said that he didn't have any time for Kev Baker. The guy argued that he was very popular, and Richie cut him off and told him that he wasn't. I was wondering if you'd heard this exchange and whether you knew why Richie had suddenly turned on Kev. It was a brief exchange, but quite punishing. Cheers. I've not actually heard this from Richie. I wasn't surprised at the beginning when you said that Richie had paid enormous tribute to Kev and helped to donate to Kev's GoFundMe. Gary, I mean, and then I think Richie did that. I've not heard that, Gary. I mean, if you've got a link to the show, I'd be interested to hear it. It's possible that for some reason, is it possible that Richie made a mistake and mistook Kev Baker for someone else? I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt at this point, because that sounds out of character for Richie. Yeah. Okay. Richie and Kev I think Richie and Kev actually did respect each other an awful lot. I think they did collaborate a couple of times, so Richie knows Kev, and possibly this guy from Northern Ireland might have just said, and Richie somehow thought he meant someone else. This happens to me sometime. That's a very strange thing. As for Kev's back catalogue, yes, it is. His back catalogue, as much of his back catalogue has been preserved. Now, obviously, like his TFR have kept his shows behind a paywall last time I checked. They were still behind the paywall. And they're not obliged to lift that paywall at all, just because Kev's gone. However, of course, Kev also doubled up his shows on YouTube. A lot of his shows are doubled up on YouTube, including over half of the ones I've actually preserved over half the ones he did with me, and you can find them on. You'll find them on. I put a link. You'll find them on archive.org on my page. I put all of them on there. So I don't have an answer for that, but if you get me the link, Gary, I'd be interested to hear the show. Erasmiavoskis says, I miss Kev Baker so much. It was on his show that I found Ben. They had a regular monthly podcast, and they were my favourite. Ben and Kev worked so well together. I will never forget the great Kev Baker. He was one of a kind. R.I.P. Kev. Thanks, Erasmia. That's much appreciated. I'm really glad you enjoyed Kev, especially the shows that I was on, which, as you said, I did them regularly for years. I did 75 shows in all with Kev. And reply to comment 60, Target Crafty Nihilist says, I'm just commenting so I get a mention at the beginning of the next time. Yes, you do. Get in there first, Crafty. You know that if you post a comment straight after I stop the comments reply video recordings, you know you're going to get a mention. That's right. And Steve and me says, and Steve071 says, and me. Happy 60th, Ben. That's right. That's not my age, by the way. That's just the number of comments reply videos I've done. This is the 61st. Reply to comments 60, Highway Star. I always look forward to watching these reply to comments videos. Thanks, Highway Star. I'm glad you like them. Much appreciated. Reply to comments. Musketeer. Oh, blimey. What's he got in store for me now? Oh, gosh. Okay. At least whatever he comes up with, he's just going to go on and on about it for the entire bloody videos. That's something. He tends to be a chap of one ideas, Musketeer. The images on Raz's website are not from some gallery, etc. They were of real products made by real companies. For example, we had a BMW C1 motorbike, Smart Fortano City car, Suzuki Ignis, GR 5-door hatchback car, Hummer tactical mountain bike, e-cycle UB11, an e-bike with a fuel cell designed by NASA, and so on. Well, what's the copyright status on those pictures, Musketeer? Presumably the copyright, if they are, I mean, the copyright owners can do something about it, but they haven't yet. Raza has just fitted photographs of real products made by real companies from the internet and placed them. They've lifted photographs and placed them on the 0 Point Institute website's product page to try and give it a false look of credibility. Trying to fool people into thinking his company makes the products. He's trying to look credible to people like you, Ben. Is that the actual reason? I haven't checked his website lately, Musketeer, but he's taken pictures of other people's products and put them on his website to make it look like he's making them. I don't think I can take your word for that, Musketeer, because you have been inaccurate in the way you talk about people, including me. He carries on. Maybe by living in China, he thinks the real manufacturers can't sue him. Well, you must be bloody joking, Musketeer. Where else would you live where you can be sued? I mean, China is the only country in the world that makes anything, isn't it, these days? Maybe he's banking on the type of people who visit the site who won't notice it's a product made by Suzuki, BMW, Smart, Hummer, etc. Or maybe it's the fact that the website has less than 5,000 views in 14 years. Raz is still playing it with it, though. It's updated on the 4th of 1922. On the 19th of April 2022. One thing's clear: the products shown on the Net Zero Institute pages are not Raz's. Okay, but the question is not whether the question is they're not that he's actually. It depends on the context in which he's using this photographs. Firstly, are they in the public domain? Secondly, what's the context of him using them? Is he using them as you say he is? I'm not going to take your word for it, Musketeer. I'll check out his website and see. Neil Peel is now trying to wriggle out of his offer to host a debate between the Doctor and myself. Maybe you're interested in trying to get it on. Honestly, if Raza wants to debate you, that's absolutely fine. It's up to him. You don't actually need my help and Neil's for that. If Raza doesn't want to talk to you, that's fair enough. Do bear in mind you're not the easiest person in the world to get on with, Musketeer. You're not. Edit. Neil is now not responding to my post regarding the showdown between Raza and myself. Are you willing to try and get it on? Look, are you willing to try and get it on? I think Raza has refused such a debate, and Neil has gone quite quiet to save face. Now that's up to you and Raza. It's between the two of you. It's got nothing to do with me. I'd be happy. I'd like to see you debate. But it's your choice. Oh, there's one last little stanza here. You told us before your daughter gave you a spice cake. Oh, she did once, yes. Well, she did. She gave me. I had some cake. I went to a party and she gave me a cake, and it was one of those kinds. Yeah. So that's 3 times I got stoned, not twice. Reply to comment 60. Steve mumbling. He got in there quickly, did old Steve. Take a look at 3044 on this video. Let's have a look then. Well, then why is it, Steve, you continuously argue with people you think of as stupid? Because that's what you do. David Smith says, Okay. You can clearly see me post a comment with a link to a commercial scale power plant on Ben's video with Steve Bassett. This is the 4th time I'd posted the same comment and link it. It disappeared on previous 3 occasions. Alright, so, hang on. So you posted the comment and the link disappeared, or did the comment disappear? I don't know why that might be. I've just gone to the spam folder before beginning this video and I've liberated all the spam. So, I don't know. I don't know why that is. The comment with the link is not there. It disappeared because it showed a commercial scale solar power station with 3,600 solar panels. Not too far from me. Well, why is that? Is that against YouTube's rules? What's wrong with showing a commercial solar power station? I mean, they're everywhere. Ben was telling us that all these commercial scale solar power plants can't exist due to reliability issues. I didn't say they couldn't exist. I said they couldn't be of the size and with the output that would make them a viable alternative for fossil fuels. Even like the non-conspiratorial people, like people like George Monbiot and what's his name, Mark Linus, are saying that. He used this argument to bolster his ridiculous free energy claims. So where did my comment go if you didn't delete it over and over again, Ben? I've got no idea, Steve. But I'm not going to entertain this idea that I'm deleting your comments. Musketeer turned up on the live stream. He turned up on the live stream last night when I did it. Monday night. And he immediately comes out and says, "Oh, I'm going to post this again." His very first comment was, "This is the 5th comment I posted on this live stream, and Ben has ignored me." And you're just doing the same now. You're just saying that I'm deleting your comments. You're saying I'm deleting your comments, even though I am not. David Smith says, YouTube is a funny beast, Steve. I find some comments on other channels get deleted or hidden. It can be the most mundane comments or having a debate adding a link. I've had comments I've made that have been scathing left untouched, while others been pleasant go to the ether. Ideally, I'd never use YouTube as a debate discussion platform again for anything important unless it's a video type debate. David, I have to agree with you there, which makes a change. I've had comments deleted. I've had comments deleted for just containing not even swear words. I mean, just slightly slightly harsher tone, you know, which is saying, because I mean, people post harsh tone stuff on my channel. I don't mind. I'm a big tough guy. I can take it. So yeah, YouTube generally, I just wish they just stop censoring of all kinds. Obviously, you know, just simply all they have to do is just, you know, filter for criminal content, and that's it. I'm just going to move the fan slightly. I've got a nice fan here. I'm going to have to put it over here. Sorry, guys. This is going to be a little bit noisy on the mic, but it's actually about, I think the temperature today is like about 34. It's very hot here. Okay. Reply to comments 60. Tessa111. Just block him. Easier that way. Who are you talking about, Tessa? Reply. I think you maybe. Are you referring to Steve Mumbling? Gary. Yeah, Gary said I should block him. I just he hasn't actually done it. I have deleted some of his comments for rudeness, just once or twice, when I think he stepped over the line. But apart from that, I've not censored him at all. He's basically saying this now as just as kind of like a habit. He and Musketeer are doing the same thing. Let's keep repeating this. They know it's not true, but they just keep repeating it just for the hell of it. Reply to comment 60. Nothing as it seems. Absolute rubbish. Okay, now we have Charles Scott. Right, okay, let's have a look. Charles Scott. Okay, considering my comments in your reply to comments 58 part 2 and 59, the record needs to be put straight, considering your numerous claims from something onwards. I've never accused you of blocking or deleting my comments. Okay. Okay. I've said someone is blocking or deleting my comments. Okay, fair enough. Point taken. As you are a proven liar, example please. Proven. Have I faced a tribunal, Charles? No. Are you interested in giving me a tribunal? No. And I think I know where you're going to go with this, and I think I'm going to say a few more words about this in a minute. Where there was no doubt whatever, the possibility you are deleting or blocking comments cannot be discounted. Okay, well, I'm not deleting or blocking comments. Alright, and you may think I'm a proven liar. I'm not. As I've explained, we've had an argument where I've explained how you are not treating me fairly over a particular issue. Despite what you say, I have had comments blocked or deleted, even after you liberated comments held in review. There are still comments blocked. Right, I don't know why. It is highly probable you don't want to reply to some of my comments on this matter for personal damage limitation reasons. Okay, I'm not actually. There is. You say it's highly probable I don't want to reply to some of your comments. No, it's not highly probable. It is certain. I've actually informed you in the last video I will not reply to some of your comments. I'm not going to delete them, but I'm not going to read them out on my reply to comments video. And I'll explain why in a minute, because I think you're going to go on to one in a second. I've already told you I've tried shortening my comments and therefore posting more comments to avoid comments getting blocked. I do not accept I'm obsessive over this matter. I just want to make it clear to your sane and honest YouTube viewers you're a liar with a suspected mental illness. Alright, I do not claim you lied. It is the factual proof of the factual. Okay, right, you're going to go on to something now which I've told you I'm not going to discuss with you. You have told me I lied because what happened was, you see, you told me that myself and Chris Evers had no email correspondence because Chris said so. You also said that Chris Evers actually did try to sell me a ticket for the OLM 22 conference, and by sending me emails, he sent me 3 emails, and that I obviously didn't receive them for some reason, even though I was constantly checking my spam box, even though Chris Evers is a contact on my in my email, so it would not have gone to the spam box, the spam folder, etc., etc. Then you also said that Chris had provided evidence that he'd sent me the invoice because he presented to you a page from his sales app with entry in my name. I then showed you a records of my emails and my email correspondence. I took a screenshot of my email inbox. You know, I did have to cover a few things up for data protection, but I didn't alter them in any other way, and I showed you the correspondence I had with Chris over the years. You then accused me of photoshopping, or you're in another way concocting the image I sent to you. Now that is accusing me of being a liar. What annoyed me though was you didn't consider the possibility. In fact, it's more than a possibility. The actual equal likelihood that Chris Evers had done exactly the same, and that this invoice he's posting to people to prove that he sent me the ticket is equally fabricated. I can't prove he's done that, but you can't prove that I fabricated mine. As it happens, I didn't fabricate it. But your immediate response was to, without any grounds whatsoever, to immediately give Chris the benefit of the doubt and not me, for no other reasons than an a priori attitude towards my guilt. Now, I said as a reply to that I would no longer discuss this matter with you. I cannot discuss an accusation made against me with somebody who refuses to hear my defence, who ignores my defence, and claims when there's an equal amount of evidence for deceit on both our sides, when you come down to it factually, okay, there's an equal amount of evidence on both sides that one of us or both of us might have fabricated evidence. Yet you accept Chris Evers' claim without question. You never even considered that he might have fabricated that screenshot of his. And yet, without any further, you immediately dismiss mine as fabricated, as screenshotted. The screenshot was fabricated. It was I ran it through Paint or something like that, and that was it. And I deleted a few things. So this is the reason I'm not going to. This is the reason why I'm not actually going to discuss this matter with you any further. I'm not going to delete your comment. Your comment is going to stay here. Okay, I'm not censoring you, Charles. I don't wish to discuss this matter with you on my comments reply video. Okay, if you want to talk about something else, I'll discuss it with you, but I will not discuss this with you any further. Okay, unless you're willing to be a bit more judicious on this matter, because you're falling way short of the standards I demand in that matter. And Emlyn-Jones says underneath, "Hey Rhiannon, how you doing? Assuming all this is correct and Ben did concoct the whole thing, what would be his motive? Why the hell would he go to all this trouble to make out he'd been banned from an event he clearly wanted to attend? I don't understand what possible motive there could be." Well, yeah, exactly. I don't do this sort of thing habitually. This is the thing. It's a very serious matter to accuse me of this sort of pettiness, when I don't do this normally. I mean, if I was banned from the first OLM conference, if Chris had just, because Chris actually did send me he sent me a flyer actually originally, so I thought maybe I'm not banned anymore. This was actually a couple of years ago. This is the one before the lockdown. So why? What's wrong? So why? So Rhiannon's asked Charles a good question. Why would I do this? I would have to imagine an entire grievance against myself simply for the sake of making a video. Seems a rather strange stuff. And as you see here, Chris emailed the invoice to Ben. Charles is simply Chris emailed the invoice to Ben, and there's no questioning Chris Evers, is there, Charles? No questioning at all. I'm not accusing Chris Evers either. I can't prove that what he said is untrue. However, you can't prove that what I did. It's you're assuming malfeasance on my part and assuming a lack of it on Chris's without any evidence at all either way, to judge one of us more than the other. So that, Charles, is why I'm refusing to discuss this matter with you any further. TK says here on reply to comment 60. Sitchin and his story of the Anunnaki is a good example of both of you lowering the bar and of a lone weirdo disagreeing with the rest of the mainstream academics. Of both of you lowering the bar and disagreeing with the rest of academics. Well, I've only read one of Sitchin's books, actually. I read a bit of the first one, which I think he brought out in about 1965, and I found it very difficult to get into. It's quite nebulous. TK goes on. Aliens have never been here, and there's zero evidence of any aliens coming here. Yes, no, wrong. Sitchin's not the only person who's looked into this. Eric von Daniken is another good example, who has dug up some very interesting evidence, and there's Robert Temple, there's many others. There's considerable evidence that there was open contact between Earth humans and extraterrestrials in the distant past. coming here via crafts unless you lower the bar so low as to allow baboons to become aliens visiting us. I don't understand what you mean, TK. Baboons are Earth creatures. They're organisms. They're primates that live on Earth. So I'm not sure what you're talking about. They're as much from Earth as we are. Lowering the bar, I suppose, is the opposite in this case of raising the bar, as the fallacy I talk about in skepticism. I don't think so, TK, because in the case of the ancient aliens, and in the case of a lot of the things I talk about here, I have a bias. I mean, I'm not perfect, but I think, try to maintain intellectual honesty. And I do apply that to other people as well. So, if Sitchin, I don't accept everything that von Daniken says. I mean, I talked about that in my Streetcar Named Stargate video. How I have a lot of problems with with von Daniken's thesis. A lot of what he claims about the active involvement of aliens with us within historical times. So ancient Egypt, for example, the actual evidence for that is questionable, to say the least. Why? Because it doesn't pass above that bar, and the bar stays where it is. TK goes on. Free energy is impossible based on the definition of what energy it is and does. No, it's not. It's been discovered experimentally, and therefore, and this is a case when experiment actually precedes the theory. The theory and hypothesis actually came about afterwards, as a result of experimental anomalies. You understand? So, if it was actually detected before anyone thought, well, could such a thing exist? So scientists were shoved into this position rather unwillingly, which is why they come up with things like the 0-point field, Casimir effect, things like that. All scientists agree there's no such thing as free energy, and it is proven over hundreds of years of physics. But forget all that. Ben knows some guy who has a mouse that has a free energy spaceship. Oh, right. TK, you used to watch the Clangers as well, did you? Oh, yeah. That's actually, none of that's true. Actually, you say all scientists agree. No, they don't. There's a consensus within academia that such a thing does not exist. But I mean, a lot of scientists accept this is not true. A lot of scientists have observed it in experiments. Pons and Fleischmann weren't the only ones. There are many, many others. I gave a list of them actually gave a list of them in my free energy videos. A lot agree and just don't want to say anything because, of course, there is convention within academia. There is the academic norm, and as we found out, and many have found out to their cost, like John Mack, you break that, and you may be right, but it doesn't do very well for your ability to pay the rent at the end of the month. And TK finishes with, how low do you need that bar? Well, I've just explained to you what the standards of evidence I talk about, and I do try to stick to those. If I breach those standards of evidence, TK, feel free to tell me. I mean, you do, you see. If you and many, many others are monitoring what I do and scrutinizing what I do, and I welcome that. I welcome that 100%. This is why I allow comments. This is why I don't delete comments and ban people for disagreeing with me. Even when people are obnoxious and rude, I don't ban them. Up to a point, of course, I mean, I have my limits. You start having a go at other people in the chat box, for example. That's what I just deleted one of Steve Mumbling's comments for. Okay, let's go on. New Probe, Steve071. Another classic reportage, Ben. So glad Probe is back. I hope to see a future one. Yeah, me too, Steve. I look forward to your imminent new conference upload. I have Tony Dodd's book. It's a good read. Surely a collector's item now. Yeah, very much, Steve. Hang on to it because it is out of print. I've got a hardback edition. There are a few paperback ones going around as well. But I think it's an extremely interesting book and is directly related to more recent research done by people like Richard D. Hall. New Probe, Steve071 again. If you see this before your new reportage, please try to get some interviews or sound bites from the Blackpool conference, Ben. It'd be great to see Giorgio or von Daniken. Big up her HPANWO TV. Well, Steve, as you can see, when you watch the video, I did get some sound bites. I got a couple of sound bites from a couple of speakers, and quite a detailed interview with Maria Wheatley. So I hope that does it. I didn't get a chance to get interviews with von Daniken or Giorgio, but I didn't meet von Daniken. I met Giorgio and spoke to Giorgio briefly, and he's a very he's a charming chap. He's very He's a true. He's not like. He's not in this just to fool people and make money. He believes in it, and that's not to accuse anyone of fooling anyone making money at this event. There are people within our community who do that. He's definitely not one of them. In fact, I don't think anyone there was. There was Rick Doty, of course, but the conference was made by sincere people for sincere people. Right, Steve again on New Probe. Where can I see the photos from another dimension that you mentioned regarding Tony Toppin? Right, oh, right. I don't know. I'll see if I can find them, Steve. But they're on Tony's. Tony did mention. He did show them actually. Yeah. New probe. One. Steve again. One piece of constructive criticism, Ben. Before you do your souvenirs piece, take your toiletries and belongings out of the bag first. Oh, Steve. It's all part of the fun. Into the Triangle, which is an old one. You and me both, says Chester. All right. Right. Well, I don't know what you're referring to specifically in this rather long video, but thanks for watching. Frank Willis says on New Probe. Hey, Frank. Frank was one of the speakers there, someone I've known for a long time. Thanks, Ben. As usual, there were a few piss-take comments, but that's human nature. I spoke twice, as you know. I gave my time for free, both talks. I made my own way there. Why? I'm not like most, where I want money. No. I have a take on stuff and information I want to share. That's my main aim. It's my journey. It was an honour to speak at Probe, especially carrying on Sam and Jean's legacy. I'm proud of Paul and Dave for carrying on. I wish them every bit of success, and I'm happy to promote them. Cheers, Frank. Thanks very much. I enjoyed your talk. It was cool. Obviously, I had a problem with some of the things you brought up, but generally, I thought your talk was pretty good. Reply to comment 60. Emlyn-Jones, Ben, if you were shadow banned in the spring of 2016, do you think it could have been something to do with Brexit? I hope not, Rhiannon. I mean, it's. I think that generally, see, I think it was. It's possible. Oh no, sorry. I was actually. I believe my shadow ban. Sorry, I don't think it was because. Well, it may have been. It may have been to do with Brexit because it was during the backlash. But I believe my shadow banning actually began in the spring of 2018, not 2016. So it's 2 years early. It could still have something to do with Brexit, though. It could certainly be. Yeah, it could be that once the backlash began. I know people who, for example, were questioning the Joe Cox incident, which somebody was supposedly murdered. That and some people said that maybe that doesn't look like what it appears to be. There's some question things here. Those people were shadow banned. Right, Tor Engen replied to comment 60. So the Star Child skull has now disappeared. Can it be that I activated it? Just contact them some time ago. In a paraphrase, I wrote like this: if it's only a human, then you do not need it. So can you send it to me? Did not receive any response? All right, Tor. It was worth a try, I suppose. It could have been in the hands of someone who'd be willing to go along with that. Unfortunately, the Star Child skull is buried. It was listed under the Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act. The same one that ended up with that mummy, you know, the 2015 mummy being buried. The one at the, do you remember the mummy incident where everyone thought it was an alien? Funnily enough, it turned out that you see, the photograph, there was a lot of confusion over this. It turned out that the photo, as a lot of us said it would happen, was simply an artifact from a museum, and it was actually a mummy from the Mesa Verde civilization. This was a culture that inhabited the Four Corners area in what's now the United States, in roughly I think 1000 BC. And so it was just a mummy in a museum, and everyone said, well, therefore it's not an alien, and that's the end of it. But then it turned out that there were anomalies, because other more recent photographs of that mummy were located, including one from the Dollar Museum, the $1 Million Museum in I can't remember when that was, from the 90s, and it did indeed have an odd number of ribs. It had unusual hands. It looked like it was not completely human. So even though it was not from Area 51 and Hilda Blair Ray hadn't taken it at Roswell Army Air Force Base or something, didn't mean it wasn't a real alien. And as a result, we should have gone back and given it a second look. However, by then, unfortunately, it had come under the same legislation and been buried. You can't, if you try to dig it up now, you're essentially a grave robber, and that you could go to jail for that. So, Star Child skull, unfortunately, exactly the same. The good news is, though, a lot of evidence was gathered from the Star Child skull, thanks to Andrew Johnson and several other people from it. So we can only hope now that we may find more of these kinds of bones. That's all we can hope for now, I think. Tor Engen says here on reply to comment 60. Again, I remember how many years ago that I dreamt where I took off my lower jaw, and since the beginning, in the beginning the jaw was locked, and I bite and the jaw fell apart. Then I started to pick out fibres where the jaw was removed. When I took out the fibres, it gave some kind of ripping sound. Strange experience. Oh, dreams! These mutilation dreams are really weird. I've had those too. Where you find a part of your body is dropped off, or it's not as it should be, or that it's been replaced by something else. And it's weird because you can feel it. It's like, I had a dream once when my eyes were in the back of my head, literally. Like my eyes I could see over my back. And I felt my eye sockets. My eye sockets were hollow and empty. So I said, I need to get my eyeballs from the back of my head to the front. So I pressed on them hard like that, and they popped inside, and they travelled through the inside of my head and came out. Oh, what was it? It's like I pushed on my eyeballs, and my eyeballs went through the inside of my head, and I could feel it happening, and popped out into where they should be in my eye sockets. It was an extremely weird experience, extremely weird indeed. And that's how odd that was, yes. So getting onto the next comment. Rico Pizzo said, "Oh, it's spam." Kerry Wallace, right? Yes. So that's a streetcar named Stargate Part 1 of 2. I'll just delete this spam. Remove. Right, a streetcar named Stargate Part 1 of 2. Kerry Woolley says, soldiers. That's weird. It's just the word soldiers, and on each side is like a lion emoji. That I don't understand. Sorry, Kerry, I don't understand that. Streetcar named Stargate Part 1 of 2. Again, this is the new video I made when I went to Blackpool. It's a big long two-parter. Steve071 said, "This looks like a pricey weekend. 2-tier tickets. What were they charging for the full works, Ben?" Edit. You just mentioned the prices, so need bother. By the way, weather's been glorious recently, and you travel there in the rain. Yeah, the weather was not too good actually for that particular weekend. It was a bit on the off side. However, the recent one I've done, Probe, I'm not Probe, the more recent one, the one I've just come back from, Bases, the weather was glorious. It was very, very warm indeed. It's actually, if anything, it was too hot. And indeed, that weather has continued, and we've got a heat wave now. But yeah, it wasn't miserable weather. It wasn't constantly raining. It just wasn't particularly nice. It rained quite a bit, you know. A streetcar named Stargate Part 1 of 2. Steve071 says, on the Ben hyper scale, how hyper were you before this weekend? Well, not very. I got very hyper when I was there. Definitely got hyper when I was there. A streetcar named Stargate Part 1 of 2. Terminus says, the faces in the tram's window as it passed, very Jacob's Ladder-esque. Oh, I didn't notice, but I'll check that again. But it was funny enough, of course, we've gone on to review Jacob's Ladder, haven't we? Where the creatures are sort of by the window looking out as they go past. Yeah, it's really scary, that. And we have a streetcar named Stargate Part 2 of 2, and Hugo Rune says, wow, me first, but I was expecting Part 2. Oh, you must have been hanging around waiting, weren't you, Hugo? Yeah. And me second, says Hugo, again on the same video. Just to let you know, I will skin up about a dozen spliffs from my tin while I watch and listen to this. Thank you, Ben. You're very welcome, Hugo. Same 1 of 2, David. Great video, Ben. Answer to your observation on how everyone appeared pissed and out of their brains in Blackpool. I personally think everyone has had enough of all the shit going on, and they are simply trying to escape their reality, even if it's artificial and just one night. Yeah, understandable. Yeah, David, I think that's actually correct. Yeah. I think that's what holidays have always kind of served, that purpose, haven't they, in some ways. Okay, Tommy Time Television says on A Streetcar Named Stargate Part 2 of 2. Not only is there other life, there is another you out there who's lived the same life to every pause. That's the scale of the universe. Ant and bees 500 miles apart live very similar lives. Well, if the universe is large enough, then yes. I mean, if the universe is infinite in size, then it's certain, even within this physical universe, let alone parallel universes, that there's another me, there's another Earth, there's another me, some very, very distant way away. There's no reason to think at the moment the universe has any ending. There doesn't seem to be any kind of curvature. It indicates you might come back to where you start, for example. Hugo Rune says in reply to Tommy, utter tosh, there is no other me, I'm unique. Well, I like to think so, Hugo, yes. I believe I'm unique, although my resemblance to some people is duly noted. People like Al Murray, the pub landlord, but he's still he and I'm still me. David says to Hugo Rune, like snowflakes and fingerprints. Hugo Rune, if there is another me out there, would he be in a wheelchair? I had an accident in 1992 in Ukraine. Prior to that, I'd worked and lived in 33 countries. Would this other me have a similar life? Should I feel sorry for him? If there's another you out there, it could be in a parallel universe or in another life, in the Anthony Peake style sense, then he would be the same as you, but there would be differences. For example, the car crash in Ukraine might not have happened. This doesn't mean you wouldn't have a bad back, but you may not be quite as bad as it is now, because you did mention you had a cumulative, you had other back problems before this crash. As a result, though, you might not have taken quite as many drugs as you do right now, Hugo. It could be someone who got a different job to you and therefore would not have travelled as much for his profession. Yeah. You may not have met that lady in Japan you're so fond of. And you end up, I don't believe you're with her now. Yeah, but things like that. And the same goes for me. The same goes for all of us. There's an infinite number of permutations within, literally for every single Planck length there can be a division. What's the word? Not Planck length. What's it called? Planck time or something. In which the universes could diverge, which means not technically that's not infinite, but it's a huge number of possible universes. So many, the number is unimaginable. Hugo Rune says it's here as well to Tits and Bum Tabloid. Oh, Tits and Bum Tabloid is his posting. However, I can't actually see Tits and Bum Tabloid. And says, if you say so, no problems for me. I'm a 65-year-old cripple. I'll cancel my account. Goodbye. Well, I don't know what Tits is saying there, but and Hugo says here, no, please, I'll be dead soon. You keep the name. Well, I know you're not young, Hugo, but I mean, you've got a few years left in you, haven't you? Hugo also says to Tits and Bum Tabloid, yes, the weed is good, although I'm not growing my own at the moment, but sod it, I have new neighbours who are willing to help me. I'll be growing again soon. I'm a little confused. You said credit where credit's due. The weed's amazing tonight. I know what I'm token. Are you saying you are token the same? I'm confused here. Well, yeah, I mean, hopefully, I think if whoever it was who arranged for your little farm to be shut down, I mean, shame on them, honestly, man. Honestly, it's the ultimate victimless crime. You're growing a natural herb, one which grows in the wild anyway. You're doing it for your own purposes. You're not growing it to sell it to people. And you're using it for medical purposes. And they come and shut you down. I saw that there's a TV news spot with you going, yeah. Oh, God. I mean, if one of your neighbours grass you up, I mean, for goodness grass, excuse the pun, if one of your neighbours grassed you up, it's like the old East German thing, rat on your neighbours, fabulous prizes to be won. Oh, dear. And Hugo Rune just gives one more reply to Tits and Bum Tabloid. Nice one. Right, one streetcar, one of two. See how we are living. Says here, Steve Mera certainly makes things happen. Great vlog, Ben. Thanks. See how we are living. Yes, Steve is fantastic. I mean, Steve's not only an investigator; he's a wonderful organizer for those people. To put he and the team here in Vitali and the others, what they put together was fantastic. It was an amazing experience. I loved it. And Tommy Time Television says on the same video, Great channel you've got here, Ben. So much insight. Thanks, Tommy. Much appreciated. I think I was... Oh yeah, great. Right, great channel. You've got so much insight. This is Streetcar Named Stargate, part 1 of 2. Great channel you've got here, Ben. So much insight. Thanks very much. I might have said that before. Said that before, so I just had to break off. I'll just edit that bit out. I'm still recording, aren't I? Yes, I am. Alright, the Lightswallow. Hello, Lightswallow. How are you doing? On A Streetcar Named Stargate, part 2 of 2. Hey Ben, good video. A couple of additions to the Elvis reference at the beginning of part 2. Elvis's twin was Jesse, not Aaron. Aaron was Elvis's middle name. All right, okay, but he did have a stillborn twin brother. Yeah. Elvis never wrote any of his music or lyrics at all, and all references to blues were to African American music from the deep south of the US, dating to the mid-19th century, often sung while working. Just saying. Yeah. Of course that's where rock and roll came from, didn't it? It did come from that tradition. Of course, that's the blues, jazz, and eventually rock and roll, and this went into the 60s pop and eventually modern. A lot of modern pop music comes from that area. So, yeah, fair enough. But yeah, I mean, it's all connected, though. I mean, it all. I don't know exactly how it fits together, but what I mean, he wrote several songs with the word "blue" in the title. Someone was saying that he wrote. I think there's Blue Suede Shoes, of course, but there's many others. Hugo Rune says in reply to the Lightswallow, yes, I thought Aaron was Elvis' middle name. The rest of your post, thank you, very interesting. Okay. Stargate, part 1 of 2. Stephen Truthseeker says, Paul Sinclair is closed-minded. I've been on his live stream and told him about my experience with seeing beings in a fairy ring, and he and his fakes were trying to say I was making it up. Right, I don't know what live stream that was, Stephen, but that doesn't sound like Paul. I don't think Paul is generally closed-minded. If he was in this case, I don't know why. I mean, the thing is, these are references about people that I'm not aware of. It's like what Gary Robinson said earlier about Richie Allen. I mean, that surprised me. It surprised me very much. Maybe there's another explanation for it. But I don't think you're making it up. I mean, I know these things happen. I've got no reason to think you're making it up. So I don't know why he said that. Okay. Stargate part 2 of 2. The Crafty Nihilist says, you could come out here to have a smoke and some fresh air. Edit. Yeah, I said that, didn't I? Outside the building, that's right. A lot of people are gathering there just to smoke. Because you can't smoke indoors these days, of course, because of bloody nanny state rules, you know. This is humour. I couldn't give a toss about smoking, non-smoking. It was pointing out a funny juxtaposition that Ben made. This is for the new kid on the block who doesn't yet get me. Yeah, you smoke and have fresh air. Yeah, that's right. You got because everyone's smoking. Well, see, the thing is, I'm not one of these second-hand smoke Nazis. I don't. You go out. You get these people who complain. I mean, I'm a non-smoker. I always have been. But I'm not like the I'm not the sort of non-smoker Bill Hicks was saying. You arrogant, self-righteous slug. He wouldn't call me that. These people who walk along and there's someone puffing away in front of them and they're going, oh, it was horrible. I was walking all the way along a road and there was this man smoking a cigarette in front of me. I couldn't wait for him to just stab it out. No, it's a fresh air, mate. You could just cross the road. It's the open air, for goodness sake. I mean, these people who moan about people smoking outdoors, they live next to chemical plants with bloody chimneys pouring God knows what filth into the environment. Yeah. Emlyn-Jones. There is far more air than smoke out there, so you can have both. Bloody non-smokers, always whining. You should see Bill Hicks. I'll send you a link to the Bill Hicks one. Rhiannon. Rick Horden. I like a good smoke in the fresh air. Does one the world of good. All right. Well, it's not fresh air if you are actually the one smoking, Rick. But the Crafty Nihilist said, "I'm sorry. Are you referring to me?" Oh, Says to Rhiannon. Don't worry, Crafty. Rhiannon's a great lady. She really is. She's absolutely. There's not a malicious bone in her body. I can tell you. I've met her. I've spent a lot of time with her in the real world, and I can vouch for her. And of course, I'm the same with you. Streetcar 1 of 2. Gary Robinson says, I really enjoyed this one, Ben. I have to say that although I think Ancient Aliens is a great show, as it nudges people to think outside of the mainstream narrative, I tend to think that most of what they talk about can be attributed to the undocumented pre-Ice Age civilizations that Graham Hancock talks about. Very interesting that Klaus Donner was there. Not heard anything of him for years. When I first got into alternative subjects around 10 years ago, I remember he had a lot of videos on YouTube. I seem to remember he was looking into the ancient civilizations and ancient relics. Cheers. Oh, you're welcome, Gary. And you know, Klaus Donner I never saw because he was a Friday night. He was a Friday night speaker only. He did his talk for only the privileged platinum oppressors. We downtrodden gold people couldn't see him because we could only get in there Saturday and Sunday. But he did a talk, yeah. But I actually agree. What you said about the evidence attributed to aliens. I think I made this point actually in the video. It's far more. I think it's far more evidence to suggest it was humans in the antediluvian world, which had a civilization, Atlantis, etc., can account for these things more than direct intervention of aliens. This is not to say that the other evidence von Daniken comes up with, for example, the mythology of ancient aliens, is not true. I think that is true. The thing about it is that the aliens didn't actually do these things for humans. They interacted with us, and maybe even gave us some advice, but they didn't rule us and guide us. We did that for ourselves, you know. The thing about, I mean, von Daniken often gets criticised for this. You know, he is putting down humans a little bit, isn't he? You know, he's saying, "Come on, guys, you know, we're not as good as them. We need their help, poor humans." Well, you know, it looks like we can piss with the big boys in the universe. We can do our things too. We're even out in space now, so so why shouldn't we have done that in the past, in the pre-Illuminati world? You know, that's the thing. Gary Robinson says in reply to his own comments, I just got to the part in the video where you also mentioned about the ancient aliens. Sorry, mate, I should have listened to the end before commenting. No, that's not a problem, Gary. Feel free to comment before the end, and you know, I'm not the sort of person, I'm not the sort of YouTuber who goes, "Oh, if only you'd listened towards the end of the video, you know I said that." No, I'm not going to be like that, okay, so don't worry. Just say what you think. I mean, I've done that before too. I've started commenting halfway through a video and then someone else actually says something, you know. Gary also says on the same video, Ben mate, I can confirm without any doubt that the High Street in Blackpool bears no resemblance to the Las Vegas Strip whatsoever. Nothing quite prepares you for the scale and glamour of Las Vegas. It's quite incredible. And I actually met my wife there many years ago. Cheers. Right you are, Gary. Duly noted. I've been to one but not the other, so I have to take your word for that. The reason I said this is because somebody else I know did compare the two and thought there was some resemblance. Although I doubt if Las Vegas is quite as down at heel as Blackpool. I mean, I can see that you're looking at pictures that that Las Vegas seems to be an awful lot more upmarket. However, this person I met did say there were similarities. I'll just go to Las Vegas. If I go to Area 51 at some point, I'm gonna have to go to Las Vegas. Yeah, I'd like to do that. But if they get rid of the old rules. Stargate Part 1 of 2. Gary Robertson again. Hey Ben, I was wondering what your beef is with David Young. I used to enjoy listening to his show on the Paranormal UK radio. However, a couple of years ago, I left a comment in one of his videos mentioning that I didn't believe in Colonel Holt's binary message story. I wasn't rude to him, I simply mentioned that I didn't buy that part of the story, and he replied within minutes with a very stressy comment giving me a lecture on how many years he's known Colonel Holt and how much he trusted him, etc. After that, I would often leave him a quick comment whenever I particularly enjoyed the show, but he would never reply. And the sad thing was that I was usually the only person leaving a comment and the only person hitting the thumbs up button. He doesn't seem to be doing his show anymore, or at least he's not been uploading it to YouTube. Cheers. Alright, my beef with David Young is connected to the Larry Warren affair. David immediately jumped onto the bandwagon that Larry had fabricated evidence he'd made things up. I I didn't, and this eventually ended up with him being very, very aggressive and rude to me, and I had to block him. And I've had him blocked now for over 5 years. Some people tell me that he still sometimes mentions me. He mentions other people, my friends and things, in a very, very demeaning manner. Right up to the present day, he's been actually attacking people I know. That's why I stayed out of his way. I mean, I saw him a few times. I even was close to. I sort of was close to him in the dinner queue once, and I just ignored him. I think he was trying to be. At one point, he did something that seemed to be very provocative. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours. I was in conversation with someone who knows me and knows David, and I don't attack. It doesn't bother me that some people I know, don't mind David Young and they talk to David Young. This was a particular person who'd actually been on his show, and I don't hold that against her at all. She has a separate relationship with David as I do, but he sort of like from a distance he kind of called out to her as she and I were talking. Hey, how you doing? And I looked around, realised it was him, and then looked away quickly. She sort of returned his greetings. It's obvious what he was trying to do. He was trying to drive a wedge between us, and it didn't work. It didn't work at all. So, that to me is very childish. It's what's known as relational aggression. It's very juvenile. It's very feminine. It's typical of the way people deal with each other in this world. All his other aggression towards me has been online. It's been completely online as usual. Always online. As you know from my video confronting Droik, the moment these people are faced with any kind of confrontation in the real world, they shrink like quivering violets. So he doesn't particularly bother me. But he was actually also, I saw him before. I actually saw him, of course, at Outer Limits magazine, where he didn't recognise me. Of course, like they all do, but no doubt he's saying, "Oh, I knew that was Ben all along, and I didn't care," like they all are. After I posted my video, but I saw him at the Outer Limits magazine conference. Of course, he pretended that afterwards he knew, but no one actually said anything, not a single word about me, until I posted my video. And I know that because I had a friend of mine monitoring social media from the people who attended. There was zero social media footprint on this matter until after I posted my video. But I saw him there, and now as far as the binary message is Jim Penniston, not Colonel Holt. But yeah, David takes it very seriously. David adores Colonel Holt. I mean, they're like best buddies. Holt comes over to visit him, that kind of thing, and he won't hear a word against him. Holt, of course, is claiming that Larry Warren made up his story. I personally dispute that. I haven't gone into a debate with Colonel Holt. He tends to stay out of these things, but of course, his people surround him and David, Sasha Christie, Alison Dunlop, and the others. They, of course, also take the same position. And as I said before, Alison Dunlop has an additional problem with me to do with another subject. As a result, it's turned into a full-scale internet drama fest, which seems to calm down a bit now. However, when I was at Outer Limits, I ignored him, and of course he didn't recognise me. At this conference, I went as myself, and there was absolutely zero problem, zero trouble at all. So, I personally think David Young is an unpleasant person. He's spiteful. He is, he does this sort of relational aggression, as I explained, and he's intolerant. I think he's intolerant of people who have other views. So it's no surprise to me, Gary, that he hasn't been particularly nice to you on the show. And Gary continues with another comment here. My point being that we should be able to follow people in the alternative scene and get along with them without agreeing with and believing in everything they are selling. Cheers. Precisely. We're getting a love heart for that, because you're absolutely right. I know people in the alternative scene who are total skeptics, and they sort of hang around with us in the same way that I hang around with the skeptics, and I consider them delightful people. I don't get angry with people for disagreeing with me on factual issues. I only get angry with people according to their conduct. I never got angry with David Young for disagreeing with me on Larry Warren. I'm angry with him for his conduct towards me and to people I care about. And David's blended isolation. Hey, David says underneath, Holt's binary message story. Do you mean Peniston's? Yeah, David's right. It is Peniston. However, Holt was sort of on the same page as Peniston, and they were sort of like, he and Burroughs, they were sort of chummy for a while. They went to the 10th anniversary event, as you know from the video I made of it. Okay, one of two again. Lisa Cry Freedom. Lisa Cry Freedom. Hi, Lisa, how you doing? On a streetcar named Stargate. Says 10 to 5 p.m. for conference is enough. Oh, that's the end of an hour. So, okay, all right. Well, where was Lisa? Yes, so Lisa says here, 10 to 5 p.m. for conference is enough. Totally agree, Ben. 9 a.m. to 10 p.m. is far, far too long to expect folk to sit and listen, in my view, even with a 2-hour break. Yeah, exactly, Lisa. Yeah, it was a bit grueling, but it was fun. It was fun. So that's the end of an hour. We're going to have a break, and then we're going to come back, and there'll be more. Okay, I'm back for hour number 2 of this comments reply video. Again, I've just listened to what I've just recorded. There is a bit of wind noise on the mic, which comes from the fan I've got on. But the temperature it's really hot here. It's 34 degrees, I believe, and that makes it very hot. Even in this room, which is normally cooler than most rooms indoors on hot weather. I'm not a big hot weather person, so I'm afraid I'm going to have to keep the fan on, and the noise is something you have to put up with, I'm afraid. Okay, nothing as it seems, says on A Streetcar Named Stargate, part 1 of 2. Tsoukalos. That's right, Giorgio Tsoukalos. He was there, yeah. Giorgio Tsoukalos being the presenter of Ancient Aliens, and a long-time aficionado of Von Daniken. I think he's been reading, I'm guessing he's been reading Eric Von Daniken since he was young, so probably since he was a kid, and as being Swiss as well, they probably got to know each other. I read Chariots of the Gods, and I remember being about 13 years old, and I was impressed with it. I really was. It shows I was a woo-woo even back then. Streetcar Part 2 of 2. Tommy Time Television says, I believe John Middleton is the tallest man. No, John Middleton from Hale Village is the tallest man that existed. We can check it out. Let's have a look. Let's have a look, shall we? Okay. John Middleton. Tallest man ever. Let's have a look. Right. Oh yes. Right. This is John Middleton. Right. This is a guy who is allegedly, he's called the Giant of Hale. Yeah. Tales credit him with great strength. He was born in a village of Hale near Liverpool, and according to his epitaph, grew to a height of 9 feet 3 inches, and slept with his feet hanging out of the window of his house. Yeah, he was born in 1578 to 1623, which would make him 45 years of age when he died. So he was a lot older than Wadlow. Wadlow, I think, was like 21. There are some pictures of him, like a really tall guy with sort of things around him, and ordinary things around him make him look tall. Yeah, so if that's the case, that makes him 4 inches taller than Wadlow. However, this was a long time ago. Wadlow was much more recent. Wadlow, I think, he was born about 1920. Also, let's have a look. Robert Pershing Wadlow, here he is. Yes, Robert Pershing Wadlow. Yes, no, yeah, he was 1918 to 1940, also known as the Giant of Illinois, and the tallest person in recorded evidence. Yeah, but it says for whom there is irrefutable evidence. In other words, there's photographs of him. There's this. Look at the size of this guy. Look at him. Look at this. The guy. Look. This is Wadlow. Whoa, wow, what a monster. He's the tallest man on record. But he's quite young. He's died at 22, I think he was when he died. So that's sad, very sad indeed. Yeah, aged just 22. Apparently he's big all his life. He had normal height and weight when he was born. But 11 months old, he was 3.5 feet tall. Oh, blimey. Yes. Yeah, that's weird. And yeah, so he's always big. That's Wadlow. Of course, Goliath the Giant. How tall was Goliath? This is the giant from the story from the Bible. Goliath was, I think they measure it in old measured cubits and things like that. But when you convert it, it's actually Goliath's height. Here we go. Okay, 4 cubits in the span, 6 foot 9 inches. That's not particularly tall. That's however, the Masoretic text has 6 cubits and a span. That's 9 feet 9 inches. To be called a true giant, he would have to be, 6 foot 9 is pretty tall, but not excessively tall. It's about the size of Robert, the size of Robert Pattinson's wife. Remember the furry suit who was supposed to be a Bigfoot? Yeah. But that was huge. 9 foot 9 inches would be enormous. Yeah, he was brought down with a stone. He was a lot taller than, he was like 10 inches taller than Wadlow. As I said, it's perfectly possible because that guy Muhammad Ali, not the boxer, an archaeologist from Iraq, discovered graves where there were about 8 of these guys, and they were 10 feet tall. They were 10 feet tall. They were a whole foot and an inch taller than Wadlow. And there were like a whole load of them, so it wasn't just an aberration, it wasn't just an abnormal birth defect. No pituitary gland problem, which is what Wadlow had. He had a problem with his pituitary gland. This was the normal size of these people, and they had clothing and eating utensils and tools with nearby, which matched, indicates this was an entire community of 10-foot tall men. That's big. So when people say, "Oh, there's no such thing as giants," yes, there is. Anyway, where are we? Right, yeah, we are. I believe because his grave is in the local churchyard. Oh, Tommy lives near this, in Hale. Right. This is Hale near Liverpool. And it's huge. He was 9 foot 3 inches. Well worth a visit on your way to Lytham, St Anne's or Blackpool next time, Ben, if you can get a lift. In Hale Village, you can see his house and grave statue in front of him. He was requested to meet the king and beat the king's best wrestler and was rewarded £20, the equivalent of thousands today. He was robbed on the way back home and died as a pauper. Oh dear. Who robbed him? It must have been a lot of... Who would dare rob that? I'll tell you. He wasn't 400 years when he died, as stated on Wiki. He's about 35 years old. He could be. Who's going to be 400 years old? Another reason I believe the height measurements were accurate is because even back in the 1950s, people were not travelling far enough to use the unit of miles, so everything had to be done in furlongs, feet, and inches, etc. You say birches. I mean inches. Well, thanks, Tommy. That's interesting. I suppose, technically speaking, this could be verified by digging up his grave. I mean, maybe obviously some people in the local area might not like that. Even after all these centuries, they may decide he needs respect. And indeed, you do. I mean, if they dug him up, it would be a very, very brief thing just to measure him, I'd say, then put him back again, like they did with that Somerton man in Australia. They just took him out of the grave to get some DNA off him, and then they put him back in. That's a shame. He lost all that money. Oh yeah. He should have put it in the Black Nobility Bank, but never. Well, maybe just thought I'll hang on to it. Okay, John Middleton, the giant, right? I will check it out. I mean, if his house is there, you can also measure. Like, would he have to stick his feet out of his bedroom window? Because you'd be able to see that, wouldn't you? There were not many houses from that era still standing, so that's quite something. Anyway, Streetcar Named Desire, Part 1 of 2. Steve mumbling. I'm beginning to think that I should leave Ben alone. I actually feel sorry for him. This is really pitiful nonsense. To swallow this hook, line and sinker would require a complete detachment from reality. As I said to you before, Steve, I think I must admit I would miss you. If you do that, I will miss you. And if you do that, I'll probably end up doing I'll probably end up doing a reply video for you, just to, we have a kind of love-hate relationship, don't we? And we must admit. I mean, I don't feel any animosity to you. I do enjoy your contribution, actually, despite the fact you're completely wrong about almost everything. It's all part of the fun. It's all part of the banter, and so I hope you don't leave me alone. I certainly won't leave you alone. David says, goodbye then, take care. Crafty Nihilist says, Steve, you know as well as we do. You'd miss us just as much as we miss you. Yes, exactly. TK says, Ben set his stall out long ago, Steve. Quote, I can't see the balloon no matter what anyone says, and nobody can call me a liar, unquote. Did I ever say that? I mean, you're referring to something to do with UFOs? If someone shows me a balloon, I'm not going to say that's a UFO, TK. We discussed this before when you talk about lowering the bar. All this stuff has been completely debunked, but it's still quoted. The face on Mars was made by alien rabbits. Now, as rabbits eat grass, they must grow grass. They must grow grass in their spaceship, which means they need soil. Maybe that's why they're coming here. This question must be related. Alright, I know you're being sarcastic, TK, but that is an example of a circular argument, which I do not entertain. You know, so the face on Mars was not made by rabbits. I think it was made by some kind of intelligent animal species which lived on Mars a long time ago. It may have been similar to humans. It may have been, it may not be. It may be very different. But it obviously reached a level of intelligence where it had the ability to create, to mould the landscape around it, as we have. Then later on, as Mars's environment changed, probably maybe caused by the volcanoes, it died out, and like most of life on Mars died out. Interestingly, it was around that time. Scientists reckon that the end of Mars's green period and the beginning of what they call the I think it's the Noachian period they call it, which is where Mars is as it is now, began round about the time life first appeared on Earth. Wonder why that was. Anyway, TK says under here, in reply to himself, or he continues here, so I'd say if you want to argue about alien rabbits, then you're watching the right channel, and be thankful that it's the smallest fringe of people who even watch this stuff. Well, I've been shadow banned, TK, but I still get a satisfying number of views. But as for alien, we don't discuss. I've never discussed alien rabbits on this channel until now, TK. You brought them up. Right. Woody Black says in Streetcar Part 1 of 2. Oh, there's a timestamp here. What does Woody say here?
Chris O'Kane, who did the
astronomy. It's my interview with Maria.
You couldn't think of
my interview with Maria. Archdruid of Avebury hype. I don't know what you mean hype. There is a guy who says he's the Archdruid of Avebury. I mean, you see, these are neo-druids. Okay, they're neo-pagans, but I met him. He's like this guy with a big beard, and he speaks with a kind of like he's got like a Cockney accent. He's a really nice man. I mean, he may not be there now. This was back in 2003. There may be a different Archdruid. This guy might have died. He was quite old at the time, I remember. But he was a guy who'd been living a conventional life. He'd been living this kind of 9 to 5 lifestyle. He was working in finance or something like that, making a lot of money, but feeling like he had nothing to fulfill him spiritually, and he. Unlike so many of the NPCs who can exist in that state, he couldn't, and he eventually had a breakdown, and he he transformed his life. Yeah. So it's not hype. There is an Archdruid of Avebury, and Maria knows him. And anyway, UFO Disclosure 2022, Bassett on the hearings. Excuse me. Armageddon News. Yes, Armageddon News. So, let's look at this channel. It's like a. They create Armageddon News. The truth about the end days. Whoa. This looks interesting. I think I might sub to them actually. Yeah. Because of course I'm interested in the apocalypse. I've done an entire video on the apocalypse. I've just recorded another at Basis. So yeah. Right, I'll keep that as a sub. And anyway, angels are Nephilim, genetic abominations created by fallen angels, spirit beings, who corrupt both mankind and animals to create what you think are aliens. The Bible exposed that's what they're doing in Genesis chapter 6. These fallen angels have been crossbreeding animals and humans in order to create a number of different fake alien species. Believe the Bible, not the Nephilim alien demons. Every message that these aliens give mankind are straight from Satanism, about being your own God, looking within self, developing mystic powers, meditation and oneness. These aliens are teaching Satanism because they are demons. Most New Agers have no idea. Satanism doctrine is identical to New Age doctrine. Come to Jesus, these demons are deceiving you. I'm getting news. I think, see, you're correct when you're partly right, because what you talk about in chapter Genesis 6 seems to be based on some kind of genuine folk memory of something that actually happened. That is the Elohim. It says they came down. Is it chapter 6 or chapter 12? I think it's chapter 12 where they say, but it's connected. They came down from the heaven to earth, saw the daughters of men that they were fair, took of them many wives, who gave of them many heirs, who became the wise men of renown, which implies there was some human alien hybridization, and the results of this were elite bloodlines. Now, that's true. Now, what that refers to, extraterrestrials from another civilization on another world interacting with the Earth. It does not refer to anything satanic. It's not demonic or satanic in its nature. I know you're going to disagree with me because you have a belief, you have your own beliefs, but that's what I think is. Aliens are not Nephilim. I said angels, sorry, that's a mistake. No, so, well, aliens are Nephilim in the sense that they are. That's what the word was used. The Nephilim are the aliens were the Elohim, not the Nephilim. The Nephilim are actually the bloodline, the offspring of the aliens. They're not the fallen angels, right? They do indeed. Aliens do indeed crossbreed. They do indeed create hybrid species. There's legends all over the world, everywhere from Central America to South Africa has legends about this sort of thing. Believe the Bible, not the Nephilim alien demons. Well, people can read the Bible if they like. I mean, I have viewers such as David Splendid Isolation who does believe the Bible is the true word of God. I personally do not. But believing, firstly, like Nephilim are the elite bloodlines of this world, which actually are reptilian. They're actually extra-dimensional reptilians. That's their spiritual body. That's the spirit that manifests these apparently human bodies. But alien demons, well, aliens and demons are two separate things. Aliens, what the message aliens give mankind are very, very varied. They give you many, many different varies. The thing about being your own God and looking within yourself, developing mystic powers, meditation, oneness, only a tiny minority of aliens ever say that. I know this is kind of a New Age, Oriental belief, which I know as a Christian you won't accept. But whether you accept it or not, you can disagree with it. But it doesn't come from aliens. It actually comes from humans on this planet, mostly from places like India, China, etc. These aliens are teaching Satanism then because they're demons. The thing is, they're not. They're not demons, and most of them are not teaching Satanism as you define it. Most New Agers have no idea. Well, I'll agree with you on that. I've interacted enough with the New Age to know that they are. I kind of have similar views to Slaxer now in New Age. Satanism doctrine is identical to New Age doctrine. No, it's not. Although there is a crossover, there is an overlap. There are Satanists within the New Age, and vice versa. Come to Jesus, these demons are deceiving you. The aliens are not demons, but demons do deceive people. And I do believe demons are a real thing. Demons exist, and they're something we should be very concerned about, but they're not aliens. Come to Jesus. Look, I don't believe that I'll become a Christian. I'm afraid I don't. However, Jesus, great guy. I've got no problem with Jesus at all as an individual. I just don't happen to believe that he is the Redeemer and all that sort of thing. Anyway, thank you very much for the comment, Armageddon News. I've given you a sub. Your channel looks very interesting. Street Cat Part 2 of 2. Blue Wool! Hello, how are you, Colin? All right, so Colin here says, this is something I said here to... Hang on, what's this? And some people have researched him, like Stephen Cambion says that he's okay. Colin here has corrected me. That wasn't Cooper. He died some time ago. These were new whistlebells. Right. I found out, Colin, I found that out later that it was actually different people we're talking about here. So thanks for letting me know, right? I did actually find that out quickly later on. But Patrick Patel says on Streetcar Part 2 of 2, love this video, Ben. I wanted to ask you an unrelated question, if I may. Okay. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. Do you feel that that is polio paralysis in people that they're reporting in the news. It's just one of the side effects of them now that they want us to take the polio vaccine, aka 4 wink wink, because they know a lot of people have become a bit streetwiser nowadays. That's very, Patrick, that's incredibly that's an interesting way to think about it, Patrick. Yeah. There are a lot of illnesses that seem to be appearing now. A lot of people have come down. There's monkeypox, so there's polio's coming back. Yes, as people are talking about smallpox returning. There's kind of like all kinds of heart problems. That there's been posters on the side of buses saying young healthy people get heart disease too. It's as if they're trying to backfill some kind of narrative to explain why a lot of people are suddenly dropping brown bread. And now, yeah, I'm a bit concerned. I mean, I've got a feeling you could be right, you know. And that's now the kind. Well, you mentioned paralysis. People who suffer from side effects from the you-know-what do. I mean, paralysis is one of the things you get. There's people who are like, are no longer able to use their hands and things like that. And this is one of the symptoms of Lou Gehrig's, not Lou Gehrig's disease. What's it called? Okay. I hate it when I can't think of something. I really do. It'll come to me in a minute. Swine flu, 1970s. Side effect. It's called Guillain-Barré syndrome. Yeah, Guillain-Barré syndrome. What is the? That's it. Guillain-Barré syndrome. Here we go. What's it? What is the actual symptoms of Guillain-Barré? Here we are. Rapid onset muscle weakness caused by an immune system, peripheral nerve, and damaging the peripheral nervous system. Yeah, which can include things such as pain, paralysis, stuff like that. Changes in sensation and pain. Yeah, starting with the hands and feet, often spreading to the arms and upper body. Yeah, that is paralysis. Yes. So my guess is it's a kind of a Guillain-Barré syndrome, and how similar is polio? Of course, has a similar. Has problems, people like lose the ability to walk, things like that. People who had polio in the old days even get to the point where they can't breathe and they end up in iron lungs. Yeah, so that's something to be worried about, isn't it? So people, they say, oh, it's polio coming back. Well, what if it's something else? Stargate Part 1 of 2, Patrick Patel. My favourite type of video you make. Oh, well, Patrick, I'm glad. I've got more coming. I've got more of those coming soon. Snarnock says in Stargate Part 1 of 2. Great video, Ben. I need 8 hours of sleep as well. When I last met you at RDH's talk, yeah, that's at High Wycombe, wasn't it? Yeah. I had no sleep the night before, and it was a struggle to stay awake and concentrate. Right? Yeah, you do, Snarnock. Yeah. Streetcar 2 of 2. Snarnock. Next time you stay in a hotel, remember to bring a bag of sugar with a bag clip. Okay, I will. Yeah, I will bear that in mind, my friend. I'll bear that in mind. Although, it's I could have done with that in Hull. Actually, Hull was the difficult bit because I couldn't go out. Streetcar 2 of 2. Gary says, Gary Robinson. I only just realised there was a part 2. Duh. It's a long one. I decided to split it in two because it came. My rule is if it comes to over 4 hours, I make it a two-parter. That's my kind of standard rule. Streetcar Part 2 of 2. Gary Robinson. Ben, mate, I've just been re-listening to your Rich Planet TV interview whilst going to sleep. It occurred to me that maybe the NHS betrayed you because you revealed on TV that they were privatising different aspects of the organisation, such as the cleaning. We all know that what they were doing was dodgy, and they probably didn't want you blowing the whistle on TV. It could be. I mean, my first Rich Planet interview was 2010. It was actually the end of the following year that I got into trouble. But it's possible my card was marked at that point. It's possible it was, yeah. And of course, the privatisation of some services was indeed extremely dodgy. It was very, very. They brought in some awful companies, very, very corrupt. The type that sort of pays backhanders to the monitors so it doesn't get people don't know about what an awful job it's doing until it eventually gets so bad that it ends up on Dr. Chris on This Morning starts talking about it. Yeah, Streetcar Part 2 of 2, Gary Robinson. Hey Ben, I'm pretty sure Graham Hancock says the latest dating for the Göbekli Tepe is 12.5 thousand years, unless I'm mistaken. It is around there. It's very old, isn't it? Let's have a look. Got to Google these things. Google is your friend. Göbekli Tepe. There we go. Göbekli Tepe, it's translated as Potbelly Hill. Dating pre-pottery Neolithic between about 9,500 and 8,000 BC. So that's about 10,000 years ago. Oh, maybe even 9,500 BC is like about 12,500 years. Yeah, so 11,500 years. So you have to. So yeah, that's about right. That's about how old it is. They're the world's oldest known megaliths, richly decorated with abstract. Yeah, they are. It's so well preserved compared to structures that are left on the surface like Stonehenge, which is not as old but is in far worse. Stonehenge, for example, is much newer, much more recent than Göbekli Tepe, yet it is far in a worse condition because it appears Göbekli Tepe was deliberately buried for some reason, which is very strange. It's an extraordinary place. Yeah, extraordinary. Streetcar Part 2 of 2, Gary Robinson. I walked out on George Norrie in Del Rio, Texas once because his talk was very head, shoulders, knees and toes, way too American for me. Oh, right. I didn't know George Norrie did live performances. I think he's a very, very good radio presenter. One of the people who inspired me. And now, of course, he works for Gaia. He does Gaia TV. Let's put that there for now. So, but yeah, I've never heard his live shows. Dark Corners UK says, I love your reportage videos, Ben. Thank you, Dark Corners. Much appreciated. Streetcar Part 1 of 2, Bernie Tucker. Great video, Ben. You should have been speaking your speeches. You should have been speaking. Your speeches are the best. I love your works. Thanks. You're welcome, Bernie Tucker, and thank you very much. Yeah, if they invited me to speak, I'd be glad to speak. I'm sure I could do a good job. I'm sure I could do a pretty good job. I was a backup speaker once for, what was it, AV, one of the AVs, which is, I think, the closest in terms of sophistication you get in. I'm just gonna. Oops, no. I just got to save this in terms of. I just got to. Sorry, just pause for a moment. Here we go. In terms of like sophistication, in terms of upmarkedness of conferences, there's no doubt that's the most sophisticated we've got in Britain. And at least until the expos came along, and I was a backup speaker once. Ian did book me as a backup speaker for AV, which I was very pleased about. I wasn't needed in the end, though. Which is fine. I've spoken at Awake and Aware twice now, and I was a backup speaker once as well. But Kerry actually invited me to speak at the one that's happening this weekend in Watford, which I can't get to, which is very sad. Looks like the weather's going to be glorious, and a hot summer day and the High Elms Manor, it's just heaven on earth, and I could have done a really, really good talk, but I can't get the time off work. I just can't. My clients rely on me to walk the doggies and things, so Okay, Stargate Part 2 of 2, Gary Robinson says, Ben, mate, it doesn't surprise me to hear that Giorgio Tsoukalos was telling the audience that the unusual clouds are simply what comes out of the back of an aeroplane. He's been a mainstream figure for over a decade now, and as we know from Mark Devlin's research, this means he has to toe the party line and do what he's told. Yeah, unfortunately, that's one thing that disappointed me with Giorgio. I mean, the flat earth thing, I'm a round head just like he is. But then he says, oh, flat earthers, get out. He says, there's the door you leave, I'm like, why? And then he says, you believe in chemtrails, you can go too. Well, that's me. He's telling me I have to go. Why? Why do people have to go because they disagree? If we're wrong, we're wrong. He can explain why we're wrong. And so, yeah, Giorgio, I think, he has this kind of position on the ancient aliens thing, and that's all he does. That's what he specialises in. And people who talk about other things that are hidden and esoteric and occult, well, that's all stuff and nonsense. He takes the mainstream line on those things, and that's maybe because he's too specialised. I mean, this is basically the same thing I said about Steve Bassett. Steve's a great guy when it comes to he's hot as hell when it comes to the UFO issue, but then he comes out with, oh yes, but you got to get your V words for the C word and things like that, and oh, horrible Vladimir Putin, the evil one, attacking poor sweet innocent Ukraine. And so he merges back with the mainstream almost seamlessly on non-ET issues, and Giorgio seems to be the same. That's disappointing. And Mark Devlin, he's right to call these people out. Obviously, Mark, I think, has less patience with people like Giorgio and Steve than I do, and and he finds them just unbearable. Whereas I can sit and listen to them and even talk to them, and just I can like separate these issues. It doesn't mean I'm not going to mention when I think they're wrong. It's just that I don't see it as malice or on their part. I think it's stupidity, but not malice. It's not a crime to be an idiot. Streetcar Part 2 of 2. Rick Horden says, it's interesting to remember Theresa May blocked Gary McKinnon's extradition to the United States. That, I think, is the one good thing she ever did. She did, indeed. That surprised me. That pleasantly surprised me. Especially when she went on to be Prime Minister and what she was like then. Now we have here... we got a lot... Patrick Patel here has quite a long comment here, so I'll just have a read of this. His last one was quite interesting. It's quite long, but it's interesting to read this. Dear Ben, I wanted to ask you, well, firstly, I personally think stuffs like the Vimana UFO stories in the ancient Sanskrit Purana literature, Planet of the Apes, Star Trek and Star Wars... stuffs like Vimana UFO stories in the ancient Star Trek, Star Wars movies, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World and George Orwell's 1984 books, etc., are probably just inspired by our distant past, when we were far more technologically advanced than we are today. Even like the biblical stories, such as Jonah and the big whale, was allegedly a submarine. Certainly Vimana's are real. I mean, the Vimana, the Vimana's described in some of the oldest recorded literature in history, that is the Vedas, the Rig Veda, for example. No one knows when that was first written. It was probably dictated in prehistoric times. Even modern literature, modern copies only go back preserved modern copies only go back to the Middle Ages, and to the time of the Moguls. Yet clearly they refer to legends that go back far further. I think these folk memories do inspire authors, and when it comes to the various pieces of fiction. Now, Star Wars in particular I think is the most likely to be one of these. Now, Colin Woolford has a complete presentation on this, which he performed at the last Basis Project conference. I've done a reportage of that, which I'll be uploading soon. Carry on here. Patrick Patel says, God equals dictator government, Ming the merciless. Obedient angels equals disciplined soldiers invading aliens. Gullible believers equals primitive humans and apes. What if 90% of the world's population were short-statured pygmy hunter-gatherers that you still see today living in the remote islands of the Andaman and Nicobar, and a few who survived the so-called cataclysmic events were tall, like the average modern-day people, you and me? I don't know that the Andaman. The problem with the Andaman Islanders, people, especially on Sentinel Island, they are completely isolated. They live on this island, and the problem is you can't really go and talk to them about it because they are very hostile to anyone who comes near their island. Boats have come near the island, and they've immediately fired bows and arrows at these boats.
There's some people arrived there and attempted to make make peace with them, left them gifts and things. They left them, and these presents that were left on the beach, the Sentinelese just buried. They buried them in the sand, indicating we don't want these. We don't want you anything to do with you. So it's hard to say. The other I think Andaman Islanders are interesting. I think their DNA is very interesting, indicating they are like from a very old bloodline. Racially they're sort of like separate from the rest of humanity. He carries on here. Perhaps the ancients didn't need big humans to lift heavy objects, like how most brainwashed Christians believe, as they had technology to do the jobs for them, like robots. It could be though, although Patrick, it could be they just, for some reason, I mean, we can't necessarily anthropomorphise them. Their attitudes may have changed an awful lot. Why do aliens mutilate animals? We don't know. They say, they collect. Some people claim they're collecting DNA. Well, you don't need to do that to collect DNA. You don't need to take out an animal's tongue and asshole to take their DNA. A little hair plucked off their coat would do the job. What if the tall doorways that we usually see in very ancient temples were for big robots, battle droids, like you see in the movie Star Wars? It could be, I mean, when I went to York, it's not just the ancient temples that we're talking about here. I mean, the European cathedrals I mentioned, they have very tall doorways too. These have like wooden structures within them, but these are more recent than the first ones when the cathedrals were created. Yeah, maybe they were designed for taller statured beings. Also, Ben, I personally feel Christianity and all the other major religions were created by the Catholic Church in Rome. It is a tool designed to efficiently control the ordinary, gullible and vulnerable people like you and me. Hinduism, Brahma and Saraswati; Judaism, Avram and Sarai; Christianity, Abraham and Sarah; Islam, Ibrahim and Sarah. Yeah, they have that's interesting. They have those similarities. Now, of course, Judaism and Christianity and Islam are linked. They're Abrahamic faiths, but Hinduism has some of the same symbols. For example, Krishna is very like Jesus, and it could be. I mean, I don't know. I mean, there's evidence to suggest that Christianity came out of the Emperor Constantine. I mean, there's no doubt that under Constantine, Christianity you had the Council of Nicaea and things like that, where Christianity essentially became the religion of Rome. That being said, however, people do express genuine spirituality through these faiths, and I don't have a problem with that. There's also evidence, for example, that they have the apocalyptic elements of these faiths, which I talk about in my apocalypse talk. I don't think those came from some kind of manipulation, the Piso family or whoever it was who wrote the Gospels, etc., etc. These things are very ancient and archetypal, which indicates that the origins of at least some of these religions in their ancient form, Judaism specifically, and Hinduism, are probably prehistoric and pre-Illuminati. He carries on. I often think, what if the popes are actually the God of the Bible in the crypto sense? I think the popes somehow managed to convince their soldiers, angels, that they were gods on earth. They sent one of their medical corps soldiers, Angel Gabriel, to Nazareth, Arabia, to find a young indigenous girl, Mary. After they found her, they then placed her under a general anaesthetic at a secret remote location before carrying out an IVF treatment on her to help her become pregnant with the Pope's son, hence the Son of God. Jesus Christ was born hybrid, half God, half inferior human, apparently. I don't know, of course, I'm not sure. You see, the popes actually didn't emerge until after Jesus was around, because I mean, the popes go back. I suppose St. Peter you could call the first pope. The Catholic Church is the only Christian faith that its lineage actually does can be traced directly back to the time of Jesus. Although I know a lot of them dispute that. He carries on. I always felt Islam is an offshoot of Catholicism. Well, there's similarities, yeah. I discussed these in my apocalypse talk. Did you know the so-called Prophet Muhammad was illiterate and married a very wealthy Catholic nun by the name of Khadija bint Khulwayd, who was a missionary just like the modern-day Mother Teresa was? Now, there's several stories about Muhammad. I mean, some of them are very controversial, that he had a 9-year-old wife, which of course would make him a pedo, things like that. It depends which hadith you're reading. There's several different versions of that. I mean, I remember there was actually a debate between... It was Tommy Robinson actually had a debate with this guy who was a Muslim scholar, and what's nice. What's interesting was he didn't have a go at Tommy. He didn't like call him names and call him racist and things like that. He just said he was in a friendly tone. He just explained, it's not quite what you think, Tommy. Apparently she had ties with the Catholic Church because she was an agent. The popes wanted to rule the whole of Arabia, so they instructed her to marry a native indigenous and convey to his people the Latin Bible on their own language, which was Arabic. The popes knew that the only way to control or dictate the Arabian population, who lived a very simple and wild way, was to civilize them, but first with the Arabic version of the Bible, Quran. What do you think of that, Ben? Thanks. That's a real... I'm going to give you a love heart, Patrick, because that's a really long, complicated, but interesting thing you posted here, which I actually don't really know, but it would make kind of sense, because the thing is, a lot of the Quran is basically the Old Testament. It is the Torah, which is the Jewish version, Old Testament. So the Torah, Old Testament, Quran are very similar. They have a lot of the same stories. Of course, this is because, of course, Islam was the last of these Abrahamic faiths to emerge. It arrived in the early Middle Ages. But that was interesting about Muhammad. Obviously, you see, there has to be some explanation, because Muhammad, of course, was from a family of shepherds in the area around what is today Mecca in Saudi Arabia, and within his lifetime, he's built an army that's taken over half the world. I mean, how did that happen? How did this insignificant individual who couldn't even read, even though he was actually shown a book? The thing is, he was shown a book by the angel Gabriel when he had his vision, which he then did put down. I don't know how this actually happened, because he couldn't read. Yeah, he was shown this book with golden pages, and which he then turned into the Holy Quran. I'm not sure. Interesting. You give me something to think about, Patrick. You really have. This is not to say, people express genuine spirituality through these faiths, and I'm absolutely fine with that. I think the spirituality they express is not diminished by the origins of the particular framework with which they express it. So, if anyone is Jewish or Muslim or Christian, watching what I'm saying here, I don't want you to be up. Obviously, you feel offended. I can't help that, and I'm not going to censor myself to stop you feeling offended. But I do hope you won't, because there's no harm intended here. Right, Jacob's Ladder Watch Party Review. New video. Crafty Nihilist. First! Yep, Crafty gets in there first. Jason Gavea. Great film. It is, isn't it? Yeah, it's fantastic. It was great. One thing I love about doing these watch parties is it gives me the chance to re-watch these old films. Hatchie says on Jacob's Ladder Review, respect and love from our caravan, Ben. Me and the buddy, him being the hound. Me and the buddy, him being the hound. All right, that's your doggy. Ben, in the last 8 months, his whole personality has changed. I now have a dog that talks to the neighbourhood. Everyone telling me he's the most spiritual dog in the park. Truthfully, unbelievable. Respect, my friend. Oh, great, Hatchie. That's cool. Bless him, your doggy. And we have some more spam, which I'll just get rid of. Remove. Okay. DJ B2 says, same video. How am I doing for time? All right. It's getting through it. DJ B2 says on Jacob's Ladder Watch Party, great movie, very messed up. Tim Robbins was great in it. Yeah, DJ. Yeah, it was. When I was at film school, a fellow student did as an in-person watch party, and I was the only one who saw it before, as I also worked in a video shop to fund my way through film school in the 90s, lol. All right. Hey, DJ, well, good on you for being in film school. Have you directed anything? That's cool. But it's nice you did like a little watch party of this. And it's to get together is always fun, rather than just doing it online. Same video, GJB2. You used to be able to do that, now you have to sell your body. All right. I don't know what you're referring to specifically, but there's all kinds of things you used to have to you could do easily, and now you have to go through much more trouble to get to it. I'm just going to get rid of the spam again. Hugo Roon says on Streetcar Part 2 of 2, your comment about Israel's language, 51 minutes in. Oh, right. I knew you'd have something to say about this. You said Hebrew, but I have a note on my note wall. Yiddish is, quote, Yiddish is ancient German. Must investigate. I can speak German, but I don't know any Yiddish. All right, unquote. Well, Yiddish is apparently based on Low German. Yeah, it's very similar. Of course, it has German. Most German and Yiddish speakers can understand each other, I believe. Of course, they can't read each other's writing because Yiddish is written with the Hebrew script, German with the Latin script, with a few variations, of course. Hugo continues. That is just a note to myself, one amongst many. My German now is a bit rusty, as I haven't spoken German since 1979, but I haven't taken it further yet. Would you be interested? Blimey. What do you mean in terms of this research area? I don't know. I mean, you do, if you don't use a language, you do. My Dutch and my Welsh is very rusty because for that reason. I don't know what you mean, Hugo. Sorry. Streetcar Part 1 of 2. Andrew Graham. Mark Ollie at 5640 suggests the alloy duralumin was unheard of in 1983. That's not true. Alright, first of all, I've got to say, I was actually listening to an interview with Mark Ollie the other day. It was actually on Howard Hughes' The Unexplained. And this crash at Aberystwyth actually happened in 1983, not 1973, so I got that wrong. It was 10 years later. By then I'd left Wales. Duralumin was first manufactured by the Durener Metallwerken, close to Aachen, Germany in 1909. Go for it, Michael Shrimpton. Yeah. It was marketed under the name Dural. Duralumin was extensively employed in Britain's first rigid airship, the HMA number 1 Mayfly, which first floated in May 1911. Right. Well, thanks for the thank you for the information, Andrew. Yeah. Right. I don't know what Mark makes of that, but you see, there was some conjecture over whether what came down near Aberystwyth actually was some kind of experimental aircraft rather than an extraterrestrial crash retrieval. You see, if it was an experimental aircraft, what would happen would probably be pretty much the same as what happens during ET crash retrievals, which is everything's sealed off, the evidence is removed, and then a cover story is put in place. There was actually a stealth aircraft, I think it was a Nighthawk, actually, F-17 Nighthawk, crashed in the early 80s somewhere, and there was some kind of crash retrieval, which was later on they admitted what it was after the aircraft was declassified. But if they hadn't done that, it's possible that some people, this might have gone down in history as like aliens coming down. This is possibly the case. So Mark actually does think it is some kind of experimental aircraft, but if he's wrong about duralumin, so be it. But if it would explain maybe why this substance was actually found in the wreckage that was recovered. Yeah, right. Just Streetcar Part 2 of 2 TK says, I think your analogy about the bank robbers is missing the fact that people like you are saying, quote, the money's right there, unquote, while pointing at the floor under the bank robber. No, he's not saying the money's right there. He's saying it's unicorn bones. Okay, the bank robber is reacting to you by saying it's not here. This is not a gambit at all. It's a reaction to people like you. No, it is a gambit. It is a gambit. You are basically directing people's attention towards something which you don't need to really, in order to keep it secret. The best thing to do is not do that. It seems somehow contradictory. And then you then say, well, okay, it's not what you think it is. It's not money from a bank robbery. It's unicorn bones. Why would you do that? Why does that help keep the secret? You see, that's my point. Anyway, maybe you explain. I'll carry on. If sometimes when I read the entire comment, that is answered for me by something you're about to write. This is not a gambit at all. It's a reaction to people like you. You present it as if the bank robber is just telling everyone the money isn't here underneath me. Gambits are not a reaction. They are an attack. From the Italian, that means to put a leg forward in order to trip someone. So there needs to be someone who is saying the money's underneath you before any gambit can be made. So the analogy should be, the police arrive at the scene and say to a man standing there, we think the money's underneath you, and the man says, no, it is not. This is your gambit. No. What I'm saying is the police don't just arrive at the scene. The man essentially calls the police and tells them to come to the scene. That is a gambit. Gambit, in a sense, is like in gamble. I don't know if the words are... Is gambit and gamble etymologically corrected? Because, you see, the bank robber is saying the money isn't underneath me. The money... So there needs to be someone who's saying the money is underneath you before any gambit can be made. But that's... You see, TK, that's the point. And indeed, that sometimes does happen. Sometimes, you know, something does happen. So, for example, I think I know what you mean here. So... What happened was in the 1990s, for example, after the fall of the Soviet Union, a lot of KGB files were taken and sold on the black market, and some of these include very, very interesting and very persuasive evidence of ET visitation. Now, what do you do when that happens? Now, in this case, they did indeed muddle up and rather than cover up, to quote Andrew Johnson. They did it with the Santilli film. Do you see what I mean? Or whether the Santilli film was made by well, you know, I mean, Colin Woolford has his own ideas about that. But even if Santilli's story about the film is correct, it clearly was streamlined to success in order to put the idea and then made very, very famous before it was then equally publicly dismantled. So, because they all knew that someone was going to see these things, and indeed they all knew, for example, it could be they knew that the alien interview thing, which Andrew Burlington talks about, that was also out there, and they needed to put something out there to say, well, basically to reduce interest. Now, reduce interest when the real thing came about. The difference is, according to people like Mark Pilkington, they don't wait for the secret to get out. They immediately start putting out disinformation about what you're trying to keep secret, which then has the opposite effect. It makes your secret less likely to be kept than more likely. Do you see what I mean? I hope I'm explaining myself correctly. Anyway, let's carry on here. Jacob's Ladder Watch Party Review, Tor Engen. Our brother's got problems with his spine, so he had to be hospitalised. Got in contact with one guy that had been in a coma for several years. He asked how it was. Got respond that for him it was no problem. He told Egg was out and fishing with friends. He said it was one pleasant experience. I don't quite understand what you mean. I'm sorry to hear about your brother. I hope he'll be alright. And one guy had been in a coma for several years. Alright. A lot of people who come out of comas often say interesting things. They essentially have some awareness while they're in a deep, profound vegetative state. This sometimes involves contact with spirits of the dead, things like that. So these very interesting situations. Yeah. And there's one man who was in hospital in ITU in coma, and he found himself walking along, and there were some people behind him. One was a young girl. A young man, another was a man in a sailor's uniform, and who said he drowned when he fell off a ship, and a Royal Navy sailor's uniform. It turns out there were people in the intensive care unit who were those very people. There was a young girl who had meningitis. There was a young man from the Royal Navy who'd been painting. He'd been painting a ship by hanging off the side of it on a ladder and had fallen in the sea. So yeah, this sort of thing has to be explained, and these are, especially when it's from people who have supposedly no awareness. Their brain is essentially shut down. Very, very few people recover from that, actually. Yet the few who do often say some very interesting things. Jacob's Ladder Watch Party Review. Patrick Patel. I've got to watch it. Thanks for the review, Ben. Oh, you're welcome, Patrick. Jacob's Ladder. Right, here we go again. Patrick Patel says on the same video, hey, I found this on an NHS website, and suspiciously it sounds exactly like the symptoms you get after having your C-word jab. Maybe they're infecting people with a HIV-like virus, who knows? Quote, most people experience a short flu-like illness 2 to 6 weeks after the HIV injection. Alright, I think you're talking about infection. Sorry, I said injection. They experience a short flu-like illness 2 to 6 weeks after HIV infection, will last for a week or two. After these symptoms disappear, HIV may not cause any symptoms for many years, although the virus continues to do damage to your immune system. This means that people with HIV do not know they're infected. Right. So, Patrick, yeah, the people who have the C-word jab, I found they have... What they experience is essentially, it can be a very nasty but short illness within hours to days after having the vaccine. Then it's just, again, it's sort of like it lasts for a short time, then it goes away. But it could be that whatever's in the V word is working on your body when you don't know it, in the same way that the HIV virus does, or allegedly does. Jacob's Ladder Watch Party review. Emlyn-Jones. Maybe the near-death experience was showing Jacob what would have happened to him after the war if he hadn't died. Yeah, I think that seems to be it, Gillian, yeah. Experiences and life lessons that he had signed up for before he incarnated, which his soul needed but wasn't able to have because destiny took a different turn, and Jacob needed to run through, quote-unquote, this before he could pass over. It could be, yeah. It could be his soul attempting to act out the contract when it wasn't going to have the chance. Maybe the point is that when men create wars, they interfere with the orderly spiritual progression of the universe. I suppose, yeah, it could well be, yeah. I mean, you could say that it is like they sort of intervene and then start things off which cause a lot of destruction, yeah, which maybe shouldn't happen. She carries on. In regard to what you were saying about your assumptions and perceptions dictating whether we see angels or demons, I completely agree with this. We really do create our own reality. The ignorant man labels what he does not understand as evil and then attempts to destroy it, only too frequently destroying himself in the process. Good. You're getting a love heart, Gillian, and that's absolutely right. And you know what? It's not just spiritual beings we do this to. We do it to people. On a completely secular level, we do it. We treat other people. If we have prejudices against certain people, we tend to misjudge them. And I've done this. I've had prejudices against people, and therefore I treat them a certain way. And then they start acting out according to how I treat them. Yeah, I mean, we do that all the time with people. So why shouldn't we do it about angels or stroke demons? Jacob's Ladder Watch Party review. Thanks, Ben. That was mine and Mark's Saturday evening sorted. Oh, bless you, crafty nihilist. I hope you enjoyed it. A Streetcar Named Stargate Part 2 of 2. Nice chat about Einstein and and time there, Ben. So what was it again? Hang on. Nice chat about Einstein and time there, Ben. So what was it again? Well, just you re-watch the recording, TK. Matty 1981. Angel of the Outer Limits. You're lucky. I've never been able to nap for some reason. Too much stuff going around in my head. Matty, yeah, some people can't. I mean, some people can't do that. I find I've always been able to. Just sit there and doze. I can do that. Some people can't. UFO Disclosure 2022. Bassett on the hearings. Matty says, "Cheer up, Bassett." Steve could vary between white pill and black pill quite a lot, I think. Yeah. He tends to be quite white-pilled on the ET issue. Matty 1981 also says here on the same video, Steve Bassett hearings. It's exopolitics. Is exopolitics still a thing? I used to like David Griffin. Oh, I still like him. He's just gone a bit quiet lately. I can see why Bassett is depressed because I looks like the American government is stalling. I worry with the same old figures about what I call the Avery 2.0. Right. Oh, you're right. Same old figures. Avery 2.0. Yes, I think you're referring to Richard Doty. And yeah, I think I'm concerned about how he seems to be getting his feet under the table in the UFO community again after all this time. Exopolitics is still a thing. You don't have the big conferences anymore in this country like you used to, because basically they were the work of just a couple of guys around Anthony Beckett, who's now sort of got out of all that thing. Now, the American government stalling definitely is happening. Now that could have a beneficial effect, though. You see, obviously they manoeuvred Trump out of office and they put this bloody dishevelled, emaciated, wrinkled old mummy in place, Biden. embalmed alive, and obviously that is a bad. It's bad they did that, but in a sense, it also smacks of desperation on their part, which could turn out to have a good effect in the long run. Matty again on Bassett. I think the best time to do it is when we have interfaith understanding, when we're all on the same page. They can't use the same old nonsense like all the religious communities will freak out and the world will go crazy. Batty, I think that's an excuse they're using. Goes back to the Brookings Institute. I believe the Vatican is far more advanced of understanding alien life than most. They seem very open to me, in fact, if you believe the stuff about the Italian contactees, etc. The friendship case, even the Italian government would be a good one to bring disclosure. If we are to believe the stories are true, with them working with the aliens, etc., in cigar crafts and flying saucers, they're actually that footage from the 80s and 90s of a man-made craft next to a red and white pylon. Also, the cigar craft photo taken from the military aircraft. Apparently, an Italian Air Force pilot was flying that craft. Also, the Adamski rumour meeting the Pope. The South American countries seem to be willing to reveal the truth, but America is the one who keeps it secret and does all the recoveries. Right? Yeah. This shouldn't necessarily. I don't see why this should centre on the United States. I really don't. No reason why it should. Absolutely none. Just a moment. I'm just going to adjust this. The friendship case is interesting, and this ties back to the very, very interesting kind of tradition that UFOs have. It's the tradition involving dating back to the early 20th century. For example, Roberto Pinotti in his book The Fascist UFO Files, which it sounds a bit dramatic, the Fascist UFO Files, but all it refers to is the interestingly serious way the Mussolini regime treated UFOs. This included a crash retrieval event at Ponte Vecchio in Lombardy. There's an interesting article you can get online, which is actually an extract from that book. So I've got to scratch my back; it's itching. Yeah, the Vatican knows more than they're saying, and they do actually. I don't think the Vatican itself would collapse. The Pope and people around him know very well about everything that's going on. Monsignor Corrado Balducci, he was the Vatican astronomer, was despite the fact he was an astronomer who tend to be sceptical, he was completely open to the idea of alien visitation and extraterrestrial life. He didn't believe it contracted he didn't believe it contracted the Catholic catechism in any way. Christianity, as I said before, they survive. Oh, that's at the end of an hour, and at the end of hour number 2. Okay, reset. Now, Christianity survived the blow dealt by Charles Darwin. If it can survive that, it can survive anything. It can adjust. Indeed, the other religions can too. As I've said, I think Islam will fare pretty well. Islam doesn't need to adjust in any way because of the jinn and stuff like that. The others, there are some I think that might have trouble and may have to do a lot of changing. But I believe that in the post-disclosure world, probably a lot of the religious institutions we have today will continue. So it's interesting about the Vatican. And you mentioned some things I'm aware of. The thing next to a red and white pylon, yeah, and the cigar-shaped craft taken by an Italian Air Force pilot, yeah, that I think that dates from the early 80s. That photograph, yet you see an object which is similar to the Tic Tac, identical almost, and it's very similar to the object seen from the USS Trepang, a submarine. Right, okay, what's this? Just check it. All right. Right, I'm going to have to... Okay, I've got to sort something out with my daughter, which is good. Anyway, that's the end of that particular bit. Adamski did meet the Pope, apparently, yeah. I don't know the details, but yeah, I don't think it's actually a rumour. I think he actually did have an audience with the Pope. So yeah, and Brazil in particular in South America seems to be very open-minded. Just Gary Heseltine headed down there, which is why he didn't go to the Blackpool Expo. There's no reason why that we should just all orbit the United States and just wait for them to do something. The United States is just one nation in this world. It's not even a superpower anymore, really. It's declined enormously on the world stage, and with Biden, with the corruption that got put in the fake President Biden, even more so. So yeah, I mean, And Steve, this is why Steve left the United States and went to Europe and worked with France and Russia and things like that. I suspect that the United States will not be the disclosure nation. I do. I think it'll be someone else. Anyway, that's the end of another hour, guys. See you soon. Right, St. Theo 2022. I'm back again. This is hour number 3. Matty says, Ben, love how you have the same routines. Thanks, Matty. Yeah, keeping these traditions alive. I love it. And Matty says, he's a good lad, old Ben. Thanks, Matty. You're great. Thanks, Matty 1981. Jacob's Ladder Watch Party Review. Stephen Law. My goodness me, that's not Professor Stephen Law, the atheist philosopher I've talked about before. He says here anyway, yes, we are all dying, and the lefties are the equivalent to Jacob's dreams. Bloody hope so. Now we have Jacob's Ladder Watch Party live stream. Ravenhill, the Templar Knight Villain 1968. Great new name, that Ravenhill. I've just got in. Evening, Ben. Just wondering what happened to Bill Ryan of Project Avalon, and what were your thoughts on Bill, if you have any? His YouTube channel has not been active for a long time. Thanks. Also, I'm just going to have a lesson here. Right. Okay. Right, Bill Ryan has gone quiet lately. Now I know he has. I mean, he was obviously part of Project Camelot with Kerry Cassidy. They ended up splitting. Then they were back together for a while, then split again. Bill founded Project Avalon as an alternative, his own independent version of it, which he did a couple of interesting videos, including introducing to the world to the one and only Charles. Yeah. But yeah, he's been quiet for ages. I think several years actually. I don't know what he's doing these days. I don't. But yeah, I hope you enjoy the recording anyway of the live stream, Ravenhill. Thanks. Jacob's Ladder Watch Party live stream. How it will be the quote end of the world. Right now, Hugo has his own little version here of what's going on. Let's have a look. And we have ads. So right, so I see. So the end of the world will be sipping Glenlivet. All right. That sounds good. That's not a bad way to go. That's fun. Interesting. This ad. Let's have a look. Oh, this ad actually has. My goodness.
Of which you have spoken, Brother Emma.
Aye, how will it be?
Well,
the end of the world.
Temple be rent in twain.
How will it be?
Well, it'll be as per a mighty rending in the sky, you see.
Oh,
and
right.
The mountains will sink and the valleys will rise, and great shall be the tumult thereof.
Oh, well, this is Broadway Classics. Alexander H. Cohen presents Beyond the Fringe. All right, it's got. I can see here. There's who are these people here? Oh, it's Peter Cook and Dudley Moore, and that's Peter Cook. It's a young Peter Cook and a Dudley Moore, and I'll just show it you actually. Here we go. That, of course, is Pete and Dud, the two in the middle. And this guy at the top and the guy at the bottom I don't recognise, but it looks like it looks quite interesting. I'll give it a like there. Well, thanks, Hugo. Thank you very much for that. I'll have a listen to that later. Thank you very much. Hugo Rune says on Jacob's Ladder live stream, I now never watch anything American. Do you remember my last watching of an American production? It was Up in Smoke, Cheech and Chong. Yes, I do. I remember you showed. That's funny, that film. It involves a lot of sort of marijuana, yeah. And that was way back around 1980-ish when I was working in Oman. We had our own cinema. Love that film. But since then, nothing in my memory from Hollywood. Yeah, that was a good film. It's on YouTube, I think. Up in Smoke. Cheech and Chong are very funny. Yeah. But there's some good things in America. I don't know. I wouldn't be completely against American stuff. I mean, obviously, like I've done watch parties for American films. Jacob's Ladder, as you say, American film. But you never watch anything American, you're going to miss something by not watching Jacob's Ladder, mate. You really are. Same video. Jacob's Ladder watch party live stream. Hugo Rune says, Spirit World Afterlife. Hugo says, Spirit World Afterlife. Sorry, I know of zero evidence of the above, and I'm well travelled globally. 34 countries. Please, Ben, show me the evidence. I thought you said 33, Hugo. What's the 34th one? The evidence can be found. I've actually. The evidence can be found in the several videos I've done. The titles, for instance, there's the Afterlife reply to Stefan Molyneux videos. There's a couple of others, Hugo. It's all in those videos. If you're a regular viewer to the channel, I'm guessing you've probably seen them. Anyway, Jacob's Ladder Watch Party live stream. Thanks for this, Ben. I'll be watching Testing God later. Oh, brilliant. Well, I hope you like it. It's a beautifully produced documentary. I mean, it's not just the information. It's poetic. It's David Malone is brilliant at producing atmosphere and a poetic kind of style, which I really love. And it's 3 episodes, an hour long each. The most important one being the last one, Credo Ergo Sum, Part 3. If you watch just one episode, just watch that one. Jacob's Ladder again. Hugo Rune says, "Okay, Ben, as I said earlier, I have no faith. That means I do not believe in an afterlife or rebirth. I have only memory of this life." Right. Well, I am actually. I also have no memory of any life other than this one. As for faith, I'm actually not. I don't consider myself a believer of any organised religion, which means that you could define me as an atheist in that way. Although, if you define an atheist as somebody who is just doesn't believe in any kind of deity or divinity or spirituality, then I wouldn't be an atheist in that sense. I would be a theist. But anyway, I also do believe in an afterlife, and this is not because of any religious text or conviction. It's because of evidence. It's because of my interest in psychical research. Hugo carries on. "But as you are aware, I am now a cripple, 33 years in a wheelchair now, 65 years old later this month." Oh, right. Well, let us know when it's your birthday, Hugo. We'll have a celebration. Yes, I know. I'm aware. I think it was in Ukraine in 1990 or something. You had this accident which caused you to become wheelchair bound. He carries on. "I'm not happy with my life, but really I do what I need to do. I'm not suicidal or anything like that. I'm pleased, Hugo. I'm pleased you made the most of your predicament. That's it. You've got on with things, and you have a way of controlling the pain and the spasms and things you get with your condition, like my mum did. You use the same method, which is a bit of good old wacky-backy. I'm all in favour of people doing that. But if rebirth, afterlife, whatever is true, surely it is better to kill myself now. No, absolutely not." Now, Hugo, have you watched my review of the film The Discovery? Because if you haven't, please do go and watch it. I think you'll find it interesting. Yeah. Because life is a very, very precious thing. Now, this goes back to a lot of atheists say this. Well, if people just believed in the afterlife, why don't they just go and kill themselves every time they max out their credit cards? This, I think, was the premise which led to that story, The Discovery. Robert Redford is this eccentric scientist who discovers proof of the afterlife, and as a result everyone goes out and starts killing themselves. But would that really happen? I don't think it would. I don't think that would happen. A large number of people are utterly convinced that the afterlife is real, and more so even than myself, and yet they don't commit suicide. They regard their physical life as very, very precious, and it is. It's a precious opportunity to learn, to grow, to prepare yourself for the beyond. He carries on. "My life is utter shit. I've told my nurses oh dear, I'm sorry, mate. You've had a lot of aggravation, especially lately, I know, and you've got problems with problems with your skin and stuff like that. I've told my nurses I'm considering a bag over my head, a simple go to sleep and die. Perhaps I should grasp this belief in continuation and end this shite now." No, Hugo, please don't. Please don't. I suggest you if you've told your nurses you've said that, then they really ought to refer you to somebody who could help you, and I would do the same. Whether the afterlife is real or not is completely irrelevant to this issue. Suicide is a tragedy you commit against yourself. It's depriving yourself of whatever experience you might need before you shuffle off this mortal coil. And whether that's the end of your existence or not is absolutely irrelevant to this point. Please, and if your life is shit, and there's ways and means of dealing with this. I know I've seen the news story about you. I know you've been persecuted. There are ways and means to improve your life. There's all kinds of support and help you can get from people. And it seems you are at least having carers, which is something. Good luck, Hugo. I wish you all the best. And happy birthday, whenever your birthday is. And you posted this is 9 days ago, so I assume it's before the end of July. Jacob's had a live stream. Stephen Truthseeker. Sorry I missed the end of the live stream. Oh, not to worry, Stephen. Thanks for posting in chat and leaving comments. Jacob's had a watch party review. Tor Engen. BZ was not the script was not the Skripal. Got that from Porton Down. No, that was Novichok, which oddly enough did seem to come from Porton Down, not from the Russian Secret Service. Yeah. Jacob's had a watch party live stream. Tor Engen. If I'm not mistaken, the Agent Orange compensation was only for US, not Vietnamese, since they was at work. There have been payouts for both, Tor, which was different, considering, because one, of course, were a military occupying force, the other were local civilians. So there's a different situation. However, the US government, seen as it was responsible, has actually issued a compensation of some kind to both. There was a class action lawsuit by both American veterans and indeed veterans from the ARVI, the Army of the Republic of Vietnam, and local Vietnamese civilians too. Sometime in the 70s there was some kind of class action lawsuit. I don't have the details, but there was a payout for all of them. Doesn't bring back the damage done though, does it? It doesn't solve. It doesn't stop the birth defects, which people are still suffering from today. It doesn't. The guy with dermatitis I showed you, was horrible dermatitis he had. Looked like he'd been in a fire. It was awful. Kerry Woolley said weather warfare also. Yeah. Oh, Project Popeye. Yeah. Tested at Lynmouth. Yeah. Jacob's had a watch party, a live stream. Tor Engen. There are proof of NDE. Politicians and bureaucrats can still talk even though they have no brain activity. Ba-boom tish. Jacob's had a watch party live stream. Kerry Woolley. Things can only get better with Brian Coxless. Oh God, him. Twat. Obnoxious prick. Oh. I had a little bit of a rant about him in the live stream last night, didn't I? Same video, Kerry Woolley. Hack. Sunshine and hack. I don't know what you mean there, Kerry. Just the word hack. You post these. Were you the one who posted just soldiers and the lion icon? I don't know what you mean by these things. Watch party live stream. Tessa 1111. They'll never convince me that the lion and the lamb weren't in the Bible. Too many paintings. They were, yeah. I read the original many times before it was switched to wolf and goat. No, it was lion and lamb. It depends. I think it depends which version of the Bible you read. I mean, there were different versions. It was lion shall lie down with the lamb. I remember. Nothing as it seems. Actually, that came up. It was the book of Isaiah chapter 6. Yeah, it came up in the Basis project. I'm going with Roy Potter on this one. Which wolf are you going to feed? The manky one or the proper one? That's that old Amerindian saying, isn't it? One is two wolves. One is hatred, fear, resentment. The other is love and peace. Which one wins? The one you feed. Tessa says, nothing as it seems. I'm not feeding any wolf. I'm staying with my sweet pets. Oh, good. Oh. Jacob's had a live stream. Tessa. There was an old episode of the X-Files about the drug given to super soldiers. It was a two-parter, if memory serves. Yeah, reading remembering the X-Files is a little bit like Mandela effect. I keep thinking, well, which episode was that in? Where was that? Where was this? You know, it's that kind of thing. So, but the X-Files used to be a freebie on Amazon. It's not anymore. But I did watch all the first series before I sort of stopped. Tessa says on Jacob's had a live stream, you should watch The Fly, the original. Oh, maybe I will sometime. I thought the one with Jeff Goldblum was fantastic. But yeah, maybe I should, Vince. Yeah, Vincent Price's one. Live stream again. Tessa. Jacob equals Israel. He did wrestle an angel, then laid down and saw the ladder to heaven and angels going up and down. Oh, right. The angel Israel is the one who fights God. Yeah, in the Bible, which of course is the name of the Israeli nation, the Jewish nation. Yeah. Reply to comment 60. Erasmia Voskis. Oh, right. I appreciate you addressing my comment, Ben, and also appreciate you tackling my Greek name. I'm glad you clarified your position on Steve on disclosure. I usually can deal fairly well with someone, even if our views are different, but he just stuck my nerve with his mainstream views. Yeah, I understand, Erasmia. Yeah, it was frustrating. I respect that you tolerated it due to his knowledge on disclosure. I might attempt to give it another look. Thank you for clarifying. I can't wait for more content. You're welcome, Erasmia. I'm glad you enjoyed it. You've not been watching for long, and I'm glad you enjoy my channel. I appreciate that. Okay, we've got more. Oh, we got more spam. Someone called Susan Brown. I know a woman called Susan Brown, but it's not her. Okay. Fourth kind watch party introduction. Taff Derek Baker. Shamai Ben. Thank you very much. Thanks, Taff Derek Baker. Fourth kind watch party introduction. Right. Oh, more spam. Get rid of that. And we have now. Right, Marley Pumpkin on the fourth kind watch party introduction. Okay, here we go. Just to put that in there. Oh, Marley Pumpkin always causes trouble. New video, the fourth kind watch party introduction. Mark, how can you afford so much travel when you're on the dole? Does MI5 pay for it? Yet again, you mentioned Sue Stain, your girlfriend 20 years ago. Not exactly stopping the New World Order with these pathetic videos, are you? Duh, roll eyes, roll eyes, roll eyes. Firstly, I'm not on the dole. I work like most people. I have a job. MI5 doesn't pay me at all. I mentioned Sue Stain. She's a part of my past. And it wasn't 20 years ago. It was actually, the relationship ended 6 years ago. I think I am stopping the New World Order with these videos you think is pathetic. I don't actually think my video is pathetic. If you do, that doesn't bother me. I'm not interested in your opinions at all. You can take them or leave them, and you obviously watch avidly, riveted to everything I do. So, well, if you want to watch videos you found pathetic, then what does that make you, Marley? Jane Pickford, what's wrong with you? Why are you attacking a person you do not even know? Oh, you're getting a love heart already. Do you now control how people spend their money? Actually, Ben is self-employed and earns his own money. Not that it's any of your business. Have you ever thought about how hurtful and thoughtless your comments are? Oh, Jane, thank you for sticking up for me. I appreciate that. I really appreciate your support on that. But, you know, his comments are not hurtful at all, because basically I think I've developed a pretty thick skin having to deal with the droiks and things like that, which means that, you know, if Marley, I think C.S. Lewis put it the way, it's, to paraphrase C.S. Lewis, being hurt by Marley Pumpkin after you've dealt with the droid is a bit like being scared of an earthworm after you've met a rattlesnake. TK says underneath, this is someone so crumpled up by the true movement and all its nonsense. Just look at the shape of people who think there is an NWO led by Illuminati Lizard. Keep up the fine work, people. Alright, you're talking about me. Am I crumpled up by all this nonsense? Look at the shape of people who think there's a New World Order led by Illuminati Lizard. I'm not crumpled up, am I? I'm okay, but the thing is, see, I think the New World Order is led by Illuminati Lizards, alright? But TK, what if the world is led by Illuminati Lizards? What if it is? What if it's true? Have you thought about that? Does that make any difference? Okay, Jane Pickford again says on Fourth Kind Watch Party introduction, I'm so glad you chose this, Ben. I remember watching this ages ago. It's very disturbing. It left me thinking about it for a long time afterwards. I'm looking forward to hearing everyone's thoughts on this. It's based on a true story. Very deep and quite scary. Well, Jane, I will at some point. I've got some videos I've shot already which I need to upload, I'll probably do the review maybe next week sometimes. It'll be a while, I'm afraid, because I've got a feeling I'm going to have to do some live streams this weekend about the new Tory leader and things like that. So, but I will not forget this, and I will get the review done. But thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. Certainly, if you do rewatch the video, do rewatch the film if you've not seen it for a while. Armand Adams says on the Fourth Kind Watch Party introduction, had nightmares about this film. It felt too real in parts. I got it on Amazon Prime a couple of years ago. A good, disturbing film. A much watch. Just had a look, and it's still available on Prime. On the Prime. Whoop. Yes. I think it depends which country you're in, Armand. I mean, I think it's now like it is on Prime. It's $1.99 or something. It used to be a freebie, but it's very cheap if you want to watch it. Patrick Patel gives me the thumbs up. Thanks, Patrick. Much appreciated. Streetcar Named Stargate Part 2 of 2. Steve Mera! Oh, well done, Ben. Great video. See you soon, brother. Thanks, Steve. It was great to meet you there. Steve, of course, appears in my film a couple of times. Thank you very much, Steve. Thanks for the comment. Right, CERN disproves ghosts. This is an old one with his royal illustrious cocksness again. TK says, normal people you call skeptics, whereas people who believe in imaginary things like yourself, you call the truth movement. Perhaps you have things wrong again. Alright, here's a YouTube link here. Let's have a look. What's this? Oh, it's Dick Emery.
Sign up as an Expedia member.
Hang on, it's Dick Emery. Let me just show you it. Hang on, here we go. I'll just show it you. He was funny, Dick Emery.
Dad! Dad! I think I've got it wrong again!
Oh, hilarious. I love that family and his dad. What are we going to do? Oh, we're going to nick an elephant. We're going to go to the zoo. We're going to nick an elephant. Oh, right. Obviously, I disagree with your... I don't call normal people skeptics. I mean, most normal people are skeptics, but they're not really skeptics. They a lot of them believe in things that I do, but they tend to be fairly unequivocal about it. They tend to be fairly neutral and don't really think much of it. Same with the normies, the normal people who are on the skeptic side. They say they're a skeptic. I don't believe this, that, and the other, but they don't actually really think much about it. It's not a kind of big issue in their lives, which is why they're neither skeptics nor believers. So I think you're wrong there. No, I think I've not got that wrong. Okay, Space Force, a reply to Steve Mungling. Oh, it's Musketeer. This is an old one. This is. Couple of old videos slipped in there. Musketeer says, threats in space. One country's space hardware attacking another's in space. Threats from space. One country attacking another from space. It's not about threats from aliens. Well, it is, Musketeer. It's about both. As I explained to Steve in the video. What I find is that it's possible that some of the threats from aliens are likely to be exaggerated at some point in order to justify the weaponization of space, so countries can attack each other. I'll explain in there. Jacob's Ladder Watch Party live stream. Matty says here, Ben, I think you should review the animation Fantastic Planet next. That's a trippy film, right? I think. Remind me, okay, Matty, okay, because I'll probably forget. But maybe that's an idea for a future live stream, a future watch party. Yeah. Okay, Fourth Kind Watch Party introduction, Matty. It's an average film. I bought it when it first came out, but I think they could have made it a lot more scary. If the documentary side of the film was more realistic, and also if there were better actors in the film, I think it would have been much better if we got glimpses of grey aliens instead of leaving it up to the imagination like the film Communion, where we get sightings of the grey aliens peeping around the corner of a door. These freaky aliens seem to be like doing stuff like that, the little creeps. I think they made it into too much or like a supernatural horror movie that were out at the time. The thing with the alien voices sounds like demons was a bit much. But saying that, these beings we call aliens could be what we understand to be demons. But it could be that some are confused with some of the negative ones are confused. Now, I think probably I don't agree with your assessment of the thing, actually. I think that for example, putting the documentary, in other words, the real footage alongside the reconstruction was very well done indeed, and I think it gives it an element of tangibility. You can almost imagine yourself there. As for if they look much better if we got glimpses, the acting wasn't bad. I thought that Mila Jovovich, of course, she's not like an A-list actor, but she's at least B+. She was the biggest actress in the film, and she was pretty good. However, the glimpses thing I think was very well done. As I said with Jacob's Ladder, I mean, I think it's possible that this director was familiar with Jacob's Ladder because he used a lot of the same techniques. You just get little glimpses of the aliens, even the big spaceship flying above the house. You see the shadow of it, and then the police CCTV camera cuts it out. So I'm giving you some spoilers in advance, but it'll all come out in the review. I think sometimes when you just see little glimpses of things or parts of things, it actually, and your imagination fills in. That's much more effective in terms of horror fiction. As you know, as Alfred Hitchcock understood, scaring people is more psychology than blood and guts. I gave the example of the remake of The Blob, which is a very gruesome film, extremely graphics, special effects, and body horror, but it's just not scary. It's not scary. That's the thing. It's an unscary film. Okay, guys, where are we now? York. This is an old film. Oh, not that old. Matty says here, when I went to York once, I'm sure I saw Tony Topping selling fruit and vegetables at the market. Oh, Tony, are you doing that? Oh, yes. Would you like another pound of oranges? It may be someone who looks a bit like him. Maybe it was one of his clones, which the aliens produced. Okay, Rod says on I Have a Passport. Well done, Ben. Now all you need is a functioning airport where you can actually get to fly out and still arrive at your destinations with your luggage intact. Oh, yes. Well, Rod, yeah, this was actually... luckily, I was invited to UFO Denmark in early 2019. If it had been a year later, forget it. I actually got I didn't get the passport for that purpose, though. I got the passport because my daughter went on holiday to Malta. And I decided, I just don't want... Yeah. I don't really want to be separated from her in that way. Okay, TK has said something here. Right, he said, now, I'm actually not... TK, I'm not going to read out your comment here. Well, I'm going to read out one bit of it, which is there was a legal wrangle between the town of Nome and the production team of this film. And the reason I'm not going to tell you the reason because I don't want any spoilers. It's very important, I think, there's no spoilers for this particular film. This is why I advise you, if you're going to take part in this watch party, to watch the film now. Don't look up anything about its background. Don't wiki it. Don't Google it. Don't read reviews. Just watch the film. But you're right. There was a legal. These filmmakers were sued by the people in the town of Nome, where the film is set. Apart from that, I'm not going to read out the rest of your comment because it contains, I think, catastrophic spoilers. So we'll leave it there. The Fourth Kind Watch Party introduction. Gary Robinson says here, Ben, mate, this is completely off topic, but I thought you would find it interesting since my wife has been drinking ayahuasca. She started watching Gaia TV. Woohoo! And there are some really great documentaries on there, as you know. What I noticed in shows featuring guests that I'm familiar with is that they cover most of the ground that they do in their YouTube videos. However, on Gaia TV, they seem to include a lot more information. I'm coming across a lot of interesting stuff that I don't know about. In a talk between David Wilcock and Graham Hancock, for example, Graham mentions that Zahi Hawass has been put through university by the Edgar Cayce Institute. The implication being that although Zahi Hawass is aggressively mainstream in his views on archaeology and Egyptology, he was most likely put into power as a gatekeeper, making sure that certain hidden knowledge remains so. There's also another scene where Graham mentions talking to an ambassador from a certain country in power who admitted to him they were pretty sure where the Ark of the Covenant was, and although Graham noted that it would be easy for them to take it, he said that they want it to stay hidden as they believe that having it in their possession will make them a target of other nations who were previously on good terms with them. All very interesting. Cheers. Right, that is very interesting, Gary, because Gaia does contain a lot of interesting stuff. I mean, I've watched some of their freebies and they're really good. I mean, I'd love if I had to. I don't subscribe to any pay-per-view TV, but if I had to, I would choose Gaia. I would choose Gaia way over Netflix and especially Sky and all that. Definitely, I would choose Gaia TV. They were showing lots of documentaries on the TV screens in the event that were absolutely riveting. All through the break, I was sitting there watching them. It's interesting about Zahi Hawass. I didn't know that about him. The Edgar Cayce Institute. As for the Ark of the Covenant, now there's a documentary which you can get on YouTube, which was made, I think, in the early 90s, and you have a very young Graham Hancock presenting it, and it's about his search for the Ark of the Covenant. He did this before he did all his ancient civilization stuff and underworld stuff, and it's what's interesting is that is that he does track the Ark to where he believes it is, which is it is in the church. I think it's the Church of Saint Sophia in Aksum, Ethiopia. He tracks it all the way from where it was originally in the Holy Land, all the way. It was taken through Egypt, up through Upper Egypt, and eventually to Ethiopia. He believes. It's a very interesting story, but the Ark is kept what people believe is the Ark is kept in this chapel in the church, and no one's allowed to see it except for the guardians, the priests who guard it. Now, there's other theories about where the Ark of the Covenant might be. I mean, Baron Blackett, Alan Wilson believe it is in South Wales. Richard D. Hall has covered that. They bring some intriguing evidence to bear. Wherever it is, it probably is somewhere. It's not the kind of thing that I think someone would dispose of or lose. Fourth kind again, Gary Robinson. P.S. Only just watching this video now, I'm a bit behind. No problem, Gary, I hope you like it. But thanks for the interesting comment about the Ark, yes. Do watch Graham Hancock's Ark. It's really good. His documentary on the Ark of the Covenant is brilliant. He goes all the way through all the way down the Nile. He follows the River Nile all the way up into Ethiopia. He visits this, I think, Tanakirkos, this monastery where he has to climb up a rope ladder to get into it. The Death Beats on Fourth Kind. Ben, mate, I've just watched the trailer for a new UFO film called Nope, which looks really good. It's like Jordan Peele movie. Looks very unique and well produced. Cheers. Right, Nope. Let me have a look at that. Hang on, let's have a look. See if I can find it. I'm not on. No, I'm not. Okay, right. Nope. Nope film. Yeah, Nope film. Here we go. Nope film. An upcoming American science fiction horror film. Oh, right, here is the trailer. Let's have a look. I'll show you it. There you go. No, not the trailer. There's the poster. Written, directed, co-produced by Jordan Peele. All right. It's got Daniel Kaluuya in, who of course was. Now, Daniel Kaluuya, of course, was that. It was an awful piece of casting to put him in Star Wars. Yet, he was previously in a film called. What's it called? And he's a bloody annoying, odd idiot as well. He says, "I'm risking my career joining Black Lives Matter." Oh, don't male cow excrement, Daniel. You'd jeopardise your career if you spoke out against BLM. Where are we now? Filmography. He was cast. What's it called? The film I think is called. Oh, he's in. No, sorry, I was getting him mixed up with someone else. He's in Get Out. Yeah. All right, I mixed him up. Sorry, I mixed him up with another actor. Apologies. Daniel Kaluuya was in this awful film called Get Out, which is bloody shite. It's trash. It's a massive white guilt trip, and I resent that enormously. But I'll watch that, and maybe this is a better one. I'll watch it when it comes out. I will check it out. Death Beats. Thank you very much. Georgia Guidestone's live stream. Tor Engen says I did one test. Oh, this is the Myers-Briggs personality inventory. Right, I got INFPA. Right, yeah. No surprise there. NFP is you're an NFP. I don't know what the actual dash and the other letters means for it. So let's have a look. Myers-Briggs. The Myers-Briggs personality type. Is there a Wikipedia here? There's 16 personality types. Yeah. Overview of the Myers-Briggs. Right. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's. There was some dash. Yeah, ENFJ. I'm the giver. ENFJ. I don't know what. There's a dash and another letter. I don't necessarily know what that means. According to this, there's just 4 letter codes: ISTJ, ISTP, etc., etc. Okay. Now, you have a very typical personality type for someone involved in conspiratorial, ufological, and paranormal phenomena. Tor Engen. INFP is just typical, very, very typical. The NF is the most important part, and the P the P is secondary. Now, I'm ENFJ, which again is not as typical as you, incidentally. ENFJ, you see, ENFP or INFP, like yourself, would be the most conspiratorial woo-woo personality. Being an ENFJ makes me
just slightly less conspiratorial than the most one. According to Gloria Moss, and you'll see it in the upcoming basis thing that I do, more than 75% of the people who go to stand in the park and read the light and things like that are NFs. Whereas NFs, across the entire population, NFs only account for about 7% of the population. Which says that the NF thing is very, very important. And NFP even more so. NFPs are like 1% of the population. But NFPs are like 60% of Truth Movement people. NFJs probably less so. But I mean, I bet I'm not the only NFJ. I'm not going to be the only ENFJ or INFJ. There's going to be lots of ENFJs and INFJs. In fact, I know a lady, a very close friend of mine actually, who I know in the real world, who is an INFJ, who's basically an introverted version of myself. Yeah, right, here we go. Georgia Guidestone's live stream, my most recent video. James Cousins says, I don't know if this happens to other subscribers, but I have been unsubscribed from your great channel after coming back and watching your Georgia Guidestones live streams. Very strange. I thought they might have deleted your channel, but they have not. Always look forward to your uploads, Ben. Thank you very much, James. You know, James, you're not the only person who's complained about this. I've had other people complaining that their comments get deleted. Usually they are moaning at me for something, and they're using it as a stick to beat me with. Others are just frustrated that this happens, and I can't control this. I've taken all the filters off my spam folder to get as many comments through as possible, and I liberate them whenever I can, the ones that end up in spam. But being unsubbed, a lot of people say they've been unsubscribed. Now I can't believe the people who say I'm not shadow banned. That should not happen, not to the level it does with me. But all you have to do is keep clicking sub, James, and I appreciate your interest. I appreciate you continuing to watch me, even though you're obviously someone is trying to hand you your hat. Let's keep it up, mate. Thanks. Same video, Dark Corners UK. On the subject of snap election, and as a historical Conservative voter, I no longer feel I can support the Tory party. Because you're not alone there, mate. And I wouldn't vote Labour if my family were held at gunpoint. For me, the only possible option is the path of anarchy. So, in an act of subtle rebellion against organised government, I plan on spoiling my ballot paper. I don't blame you, Dark Corners. Honestly, we are back to the bad old days of politics. I really am. I mean, unless Kemi Badenoch somehow becomes Prime Minister, which I think, unfortunately, is very unlikely. Really, it's pre-Boris, unfortunately. It's pre-Brexit. It's pre-the good Boris. And that's sad, but we have regressed like this. But, we all knew the Illuminati would strike back. So probably your action is probably the best one you can do in the ballot box. Georgia Guidestone's live stream, Grumpskull. You look a bit hot in there, Ben. Sorry, I said ballot box. I mean voting booth. Sorry, voting booth. Looks like 36 degrees is on your way. Better fill the ice tray for survival mode drinks. I know. In fact, today it's a bit like that. It is really quite stuffy. Yeah. So thanks, Grumpskull. I'll do my best to keep cool. I mean, it's going to be difficult because I have to go out and work in it. I have to actually go out and work in it, which means I'm going to have to drink a lot of water. I've got to wear my big sun hat from OLM. I've kept that. So Sunflower Express says on Georgia Guidestone's live stream, I think the dark elite did the Guidestones and wanted people to be alarmed by it being blown up, to blame conspiracy fanatics to discredit the political candidate. All right, that's Candace Taylor. Yeah, they also were a second out from hitting it at the exact Masonic moment. Human error. Maybe one gave the command and the other reacted slightly late on the trigger. Even since CERN activation is on the 5th, it feels like the gloves are off. Boris, the Guidestones, Japan's former PM assassinated. Yeah, he upset the globalists by admitting there was no isolated sample of COVID-19 and refused to join the UN. A warning to others. Then another leader in Indonesia or a similar place had their residence set on fire and is in hiding for sure. All surely just coincidence, quote unquote. Yeah, not only that, but the president of Haiti reached, and that was similar. The president, I think it was of, was it Mozambique, died of a heart attack because he stood up to the mass V wording of Africa. However, I don't think the Guidestones explosion was a false flag. If it was, they'd have already caught a bunch of people, and they'd be parading them in front of the media now. These would be typical kind of loonies. In fact, it could even be me. Somebody, a tinfoil hat, ranting, conspiratorial, Alex Jones viewing,
you name it, they tick every box. You'd have a whole load of them paraded now, and they'd be in court, they'd be on TV, they'd be in everything. They'd be named, they'd be shamed, everything. That hasn't happened. Hasn't happened. As for Candace Taylor, the woman who's launched her run to become Georgia governor, she is a very flamboyant, Trumpian-like character. And she's no doubt celebrating the destruction of the monument. She actually said she would demolish it as part of her campaign. But is it meant to discredit her? No, because then you would have somebody. They'd have caught somebody at the scene, probably, literally with a box of matches in their hand, and they'd have a big T-shirt on and a cap, the big hat, the big red hat saying "Candace Taylor for governor," make Georgia great again, things like that. Now that hasn't happened. The fact that hasn't happened can only mean one thing. It means that this is not a false flag, it is real. Okay, Georgia Guide to Live Stones. Okay, Hugo Rune, 22 hours 16 onwards. You mentioned me. Ah, yes, regravity, Higgs boson, dark matter particles. Sorry, I missed the live and I don't know. Hearing this now. Thanks for the mention, Ben. No problem, Hugo. That's cool. And then finally, the final comment posted on my list now, although I will do a refresh in a minute, is Hugo Rune saying on Georgia Guidestones, okay, Ben, regarding gravity, I want you to watch something and consider how they're producing this G-force. It is not gravity as a force, but think hard about it. If that rotation produces gravity, what's the source for our planet? Well, the official story is just a byproduct of matter, although seeing as no one has actually... I've got a video here.
I'm here today at the Ronald McDonald House.
We've got ads. Seeing as it's never been defined at its quantum level, in other words, they don't know how it works, we'll have to. There's no way of actually answering that question.
G will effectively increase the weight of the body, so that 5G you feel 5 times heavier.
It's only 4 minutes long. We'll watch it.
G will effectively increase the weight of the body, so that 5G you feel 5 times heavier. G can be fatal, and
this is using the centrifugal effect, in other words, inertia, to simulate gravity. Some spacecraft have actually have a design for that in terms of rotating to simulate gravity. Indeed, it's appeared in science fiction in films like 2001.
In simple terms, you can stop the blood flow to the brain, and that can kill you.
This chap is now at 5G in the machine, and after just 6 seconds, his brain is so starved of blood, he goes unconscious.
Oh yeah, you see, he passes out through hypoxia to the brain. Yeah. I'm guessing he's a trainee pilot, and he's being because pilots have to deal with this for real. God, yeah. Oh God, yeah. He comes back. Oh, they've stopped him.
Oh, down, Andy.
All right, they've stopped the test. I see.
Oh, went a bit too late there, mate.
I see. They stopped the test after he became unconscious. Good job. Do you remember in one of the James Bond films? The bad guys actually tried to kill James Bond by putting him on one of those centrifuges and then refusing to stop it.
Now he was a young, fit pilot. So how would a chain-smoking 40-year-old cope in there? Well, to find out, what we need is a chain-smoking 40-year-old. Me.
Jeremy Clarkson. All right, this is going to be fun. Oh, this is Top Gear. Oh, of course.
Climb aboard and mind the buckle as you sit down.
Have I got to be strapped in?
Yes.
You know, I'm really quite scared about this.
No, don't worry about it. Your heart rate will be monitored at all times.
When do you stop it? When it gets to what?
When it's a straight line.
Oh dear.
I'm going to die. I just know I'm going to die.
No, you'll sit back and enjoy the ride.
Out. And I'm going to clench my buttocks when it gets bad.
If at any time
You want to stop, then you call out down, 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 and we'll stop it. You may feel slightly nauseous. Nothing you can do about it.
That's what the previous test subject, he said down, 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 he said that in the previous test subject after he was, well, I think they were already stopping it because he passed out.
British about it?
very much so.
Right.
If you're happy with all that, then we'll set up the
Run and start.
I'll go on a little bit further, okay.
That's not so easy.
Oh yeah. Oh, 5G's on
He's not quite sure what to expect, and I think it's probably coming as a bit of a surprise to him.
The controller is in the hub, that's interesting. Why do they have to, why don't they have to put him in a room outside? Because he must be getting dizzy himself.
It's like having an elephant sitting on my chest.
Well, when I saw your wife, mate, you must be used to that. So, oh, sorry, that was naughty, Ben.
The blood is actually draining away from his brain at this point.
I don't think that'll make much difference when it comes to Jeremy Clarkson.
All the organs in his body as well are feeling heavy, including the heart, so that tends to descend about an inch or so and change his shape into some pear shape.
I'm going to try and lift my arm up now.
His body weight at the moment is heading towards about 1/3 of a ton. You can see quite clearly the effect of the increased G is dragging the soft tissues of his face down, so that it's actually getting a very saggy, rather sort of elderly appearance.
It improves his appearance, I would say. He's a lot better looking now.
I'm not at all convinced he's enjoying himself here.
All right, I get the. Is he? I'm going to see him.
Put me like that.
Okay, I get the point. I get the point, Hugo. Yeah, it's very interesting. Now, now that's different. You see, that is what we've just seen here. Right, is not gravity. It is inertia. It's not the Coriolis. Oh, Coriolis thing's another matter. I can talk about that in another video. I think I might have talked about how this kind of method is not suitable really in the long term for simulating gravity. But in this case, it's inertia, the centrifugal effect that simulates gravity. And with Earth, of course, the Earth does rotate, but there's very little centrifugal effect because its actual rate of rotation around its axis is once every 24 hours, which means the actual centrifugal force is almost nothing. It's almost nothing. Imagine if that centrifuge Clarkson was in took 24 hours to make an entire revolution. He just wouldn't really do much, would it? Yeah. It would be about as you get as much pressure as the hands of a clock. Less so actually, because that goes around every 12 hours. So I'm not really sure why that's relevant to the idea of gravity, because gravity is something separate. All you're seeing is there a simulation. All right, guys. Now I've got to go on to my alt tech sites. So I've got some notes here. Actually, I'm going to go through. I'll just check I'm not. I've got some notes I want to go through, which I just made notes of comments posted on alt-tech. I've got quite a lot of alt-tech comments, and of course, with Odyssey, I have to preserve them. Otherwise, and I also preserved a couple of others as well, because I thought they might disappear, and indeed, one of them did disappear. So I'm going to start off with a YouTube comment, actually, that someone posted and then deleted. I should point out, if you post a comment and you delete it, I can still see it because I get email notifications. Musketeer posted on, I don't know when this was, it's 7 hours after I cut and pasted it into a Word document, said this on A Streetcar Named Stargate Part 2 of 2. So, if you believe being part of the British healthcare establishment, you literally pushed people to their deaths, are you no different than the Nazi prison guard who pushed people into gas chambers? Worse, in fact, as you had more of a choice about your involvement than they did. I've been reading the forum you wanted me to join, and by using the search function I read you believed at the time you were a porter in the healthcare system you were working for was killing people for profit. If I had a position in such a wretched establishment, as you believe the NHS is, on finding out I would have left, and I certainly wouldn't be praising that position to the point of obsession like you do portering. Alright, fair points. Well, the answer is the NHS, the National Harm Service, as Lisa calls it, is a corrupt organisation, which is nothing more than an unregulated, it's unregulated marketplace, which for big pharma, which is immune to market forces. That's all it is. On the other hand, the NHS does do some good. If I fell down and broke my leg, I wouldn't go to the health food shop and ask for some herbs. I'd call an ambulance. That, I think, is a reason enough to say that I did do some things that were worthwhile. On the other hand, I do have weighing on my conscience the fact that I also pushed people to chemotherapy, to surgery, which was destructive, things like that. Okay, but all of us to some extent do collaborate. Now, praising my position to the point of obsession, like I do portraying. I think to this I draw an analogy with the men who were military men who opposed war. There are many of those. There are many ex-military individuals. Some of them I know. Who? Oh, it's not my daughter again, is it? Yeah. All right. Let me just reply to her. Sorry, I'm right in the middle of a family crisis here. Okay, she's just asked me to. I'm just going to give her a thumbs up. There we go. Okay. Now, good. Right. There are military men, ex-military men, who feel enormous pride and a sense of belonging, which their military service gave them. They wore their uniform with pride. They often wear veterans badges and things with pride, because it was. For the reasons is that it was a kind of like it's a very male thing, but this kind of institutional thing. There are women who feel it too, obviously, but it's a very male thing to be institutionalized as a part of your profession. Yet they feel they are totally opposed to the wars they took part in, including the actions that they committed, which did involve people losing their lives, innocent people losing their lives, as I have done. Yet they have not lost their sense of camaraderie and belonging with their fellow soldiers, their fellow veterans, and indeed continue to do so. And somehow they do maintain these two sets of books. What you might think of as contradictory positions, they can maintain. Now, I haven't exactly worked out how that is, but there's absolutely no doubt I feel it as well. I feel it as well. And so it behooves me, rather than rejecting it and accept what you do, and I think just simply denouncing myself as being essentially a hypocrite, which I think is what you want me to do, Musketeer. I'm trying to analyse that emotion as best as I can, because I must admit, you do make good points. Okay, so now I'm going to go through these other notes. Let's have a look what we have here. Okay, I'll go through the old videos first. Okay, let's go to BitChute. Let's do BitChute first. And now what I did was I clicked a few notifications, which meant I ended up losing the notifications on my notifications list. I didn't know it did that, but it bloody did. Okay. So I want to go to the film Jet Fuel Hoax, first of all, on BitChute, because I've had some comments posted on that. Okay, so this is 12. Okay, so HGB says on 12 days ago, "This is one of the dumbest things on the internet and only shows how ignorant some people are. I worked on aircraft engines, turbines, and they most certainly use fuel. All you need to do is go and study how they work and you will understand." Okay, well, HGB, I'm going to give you a thumbs up for that, because you see, I agree with you. Now, I don't know if you're not addressing me and saying that I'm being dumb, because if you had, then I'd assume you hadn't watched the video. Because if you watch the video, you'll see that I actually do agree with you. The purpose of my video was to analyse this unusual theory and basically see if it held weight, and I found it didn't. Okay, so we have here. I did put a reply to comments there. And we have here 8 months. All right, this is HGB again. Oh, yeah, 12 days ago. Okay, we have like a list of 5 months, 12 days. Nothing is truth, says. That's a rather grim assessment here. Do you still believe the Earth is a globe? No need to answer that. Ignorance is in your comment. I think he's addressing somebody. He's addressing HGB. Nothing is truth. I believe the Earth is a globe. And rather than calling me ignorant, why don't you explain why? I've done an entire video on that. HGB says, "I worked on aircraft engines, turbines, and they most certainly use fuel. All you need to go is study how they work and you will understand." Thanks, HJB, sorry. 7 months ago, 12 days ago, nothing is truth, says here. Nothing but lies. As always, please. Please are too fat and dumb to believe their own eyes. No liquid fuel is in a jet engine. It would disintegrate in minutes. Right, okay. Well, I don't agree. Please are too fat. I think you mean people too fat and dumb to believe their own eyes. Well, listen, Skinny, you skinny bastard. You're wrong. Firstly, if you say nothing is truth, then presumably the idea that the Earth is flat is not truth. Isn't that right? HJB replies here. Have you actually worked on aircraft engines? And that's all the. I think that is all the recent videos. And yeah, and then there's a few more comments that I didn't reply to because maybe I should reply to them because these were posted before. This is an old video, and these were posted before I actually got notifications through BitChute. So Bobo Fett 1967 says many of your conclusions just seem to be guesswork. Well, not their assessments. They're assessments of the theory. Are you calling the theory that planes need no fuel guesswork? Here we are 2 years ago. Prairie Sun says, I try to tell people this all the time, but they can't wrap their brain around it. Helicopters, same thing. Formula One cars. Oh, really? What, that they don't need fuel either? Please explain why. I mean, I think I take this apart quite nicely in the film. Sister Kristen says, 100% smart people understand it. Yeah, exactly. Alright guys, that's the end of that one. Now I'll just go to BitChute generally. So shall I? Yeah, let's go to BitChute generally. Notifications. Right, going down, scrolling down. I think that's all the ones I've got notes for in. That's all the BitChute ones I've got notes for in here. All the others are Odyssey, I think. Odyssey. Yeah, there's some old Odyssey ones which I've preserved, I think. So yeah, okay. Right, okay. So where are we now? Scrolling down till I get to a. Scrolling down till I get to a comment, and I get to. Obviously, I've got to go through these. I get notifications for uploads as well on my subs, so it does take a while. But I must say thank you very much to Ray and what he's done with BitChute. He's improved BitChute no end. He and his team, I think, deserve a free speech medal. So thank you very much, all of you. Gemma O'Doherty started uploading again, which is really great. Oh, here we go. New comment. Streetcar named Stargate, posted 1 day ago by Sweeps Fox. Let's have a look. We have here. Hey, I'll give him a thumbs up. He's good. Sweeps I know very well. I regularly communicated with him privately. Hey, busy good guy, going as usual, giving out your take opinions. Love the walk along the travelogue talk. Sure, I love the travelogue. Walk along travelogue talk. Sorry, yeah, travelogue. Sure, you're aware of the phony glitter given this expo conference in Blackpool. Definitely for a target audience, quote unquote. There are a few speakers worth listening to. Keep up the terrific patter. Thanks, Sweeps Fox. Thanks for the comment, Sweeps. Now, I know you and I talk privately about this, and obviously I'm going to keep our private conversations private, but you do have a low opinion of this particular conference and the people behind it. As for a target audience, I wouldn't describe myself as a target audience, and I did get something out of it. However, obviously I did have a problem with one speaker in particular. The others I had mixed feelings over. Some I had mixed feelings over. Some I positively thought were excellent, including Maria Wheatley, who I was keen to get an interview with. So it was worth going to, and it was worth going to. I went there for the crack as well, as they say. You know, the social life, the camaraderie. I went along with that as well. I went for that reason. That was my primary reason for going, actually, to be honest. John Doe 70 says, "Great stuff, Ben." Thanks, John. Glad you like it. Glad you like it. So, Sweeps and John, thank you very much for that. Right, going on to more. Right, going on to see if there's any more comments here. I did remember to delete them last time, so I didn't end up scrolling down further than I should. So, yes. Maybe what I should do is make notes of all my BitChute comments as they arrive, so I don't have to do this annoying scrolling thing. Makes my eyes go funny, actually, going like this. Let's have a look. Yes, here we go. Right,
Down we go, down, 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 down. I don't think I've got any more. Is that all the comments I have? No more? No more? Is there no more here? Yep, that's it. Well, I've got to really feel like maybe I should check the actual videos just in case. I'll do that afterwards. Okay, mark as read. Delete all. There we go. Delete all. Okay. Delete all. That's it. Now, of course, we go to Odyssey. Let's have a look at Odyssey. What's Odyssey? Now, I've got some Odyssey comments preserved because they're on old videos, but I'll go through the newer videos first. So, some of those I might have actually put onto my list. But it's going to be on the next segment. Okay, I don't think I'm not going to bother with the timer next time because it's not going to go on for another bloody hour, is it? Anyway, guys, see you shortly. Okay, guys, so let's go to what I've got on my notifications here. That's just mostly uploads here. Oh, I have one. Here we are. Dreaming Sources with. This is the 4th hour, by the way. It won't go for a full hour. Dreaming Sources, Marcus Allen. Let's have a look at this. Okay. Is this? Oh right. Oh, this is, yeah. Dreaming Sources is an old one. There's a person here who's called 100 11100Q. It's a weird name. Anyway, the brightness we see from the moon. Here we go. The brightness we see from the moon from the Earth means the astronauts would have been vaporized by the lumens needed at the distance away they claim to be. Oh right. I don't think visible light. Thanks for that comment anyway. But I don't think visible light was the problem. 101111, whatever your name is. But yeah, I mean the issue of electromagnetic radiation is a serious one. It really is. Let's have a look. Go down. Okay, no recent comments posted, I don't think. What's it? Oh, let's have a look. Going down some more. Okay, so I'll go now to my channel. I'll go now to my channel, and I will see what has been posted since the last comments reply video. So there was like, I have a number of comments. So a streetcar named Stargate, part 1 of 2. No comment. No comments. Streetcar named Desire, part 2 of 2. A streetcar named Desire. Streetcar named. Yeah, I'm getting that. Here we go. A streetcar named Stargate, part 2 of 2. Here we go. Right. Tangin says. Oh right, yes. I had to say a big thank you to Tangen because Tangen, Taengn on Odyssey, actually provided me with something that. Taj and I wanted to know where the Black Knight decoded the Pepsi advert was, the big 10-minute extended advert. And yes, and it turned out it is actually on YouTube. So what I did was I downloaded it, I shared it with Taj. So Taj now knows that as well. There's also this thing, Cracking the Shakespeare Code, which I haven't had a chance to look at, but yeah, I'll have to look at that another time. Sorry, Tangen, I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to look at that. But I appreciate you, especially giving me the link to the Black Knight Decoded thing is excellent. Thank you very much. Okay, Jacob's Ladder Watch Party review. No comments. Jacob's Ladder Watch Party live stream. No comments. The Fourth Kind Watch Party introduction. No comment. Oh, here we go.
If you can.
Okay, so we have here Don't Have Vids. Well, it's a good name. Obviously not a content creator. Don't Have Vids says here. All the mindfuck. God bless. God bless you too. Don't have vids. It's not. It's if you're talking about watch the Fourth Kind, I suppose it is a bit of a mindfuck, but it's a good in a good way. Right, Georgia Guidestone's live stream. No comments. Right, that's Odyssey done. That is Odyssey finished. Okay, guys, so now we go on to Rumble. Right, here we go. Rumble. Yeah, it's what does Rumble have to say for us? Say for itself. Okay, so now notifications. All right, now I'll do the same thing as I did before. They're not in quite the same order because of problems with uploading. So Jacob's Ladder Watch Party review. No comments. Streetcar named Stargate, part 1 of 2. No comments. I've got some more. By the way, I've got some more Odyssey notes to go through. Okay, a fourth kind watch party introduction. These are all out of order because of editing and things like that. When you edit them, they go into different parts of the hierarchy. Nope. No comments. A streetcar named Stargate Part 2 of 2. No comments. Jacob's Ladder Watch Party live stream. No comments. You're going to be complete quiet and rumble, and I got Georgia Guidestone's live stream. No comments. Right. nothing at all on Rumble. Okay, so now we're going to go to the notes. More notes. Okay, so we have okay, Black Knight decoded. Now, is Paul McCartney dead? Right. Historic video. McCartney. Okay, so it's on, and that is on Odyssey. Is Paul McCartney dead? On Odyssey says. I couldn't make it to the end of this video as the clunking of the camera being messed about got right up my threepennies. Threepenny bits, tits, you know. I'm sorry about the trust. That's from Trust Nobody. Trust Nobody, I'm very sorry about that. Yeah, I actually, the camera, I had the tripod controls were set too tight, which led to that. I'm very sorry about that. There's nothing I can do about it now. I'm sorry it spoiled the entire video for you. Here we have Bob Peart says, Paul's daughter from a get-together in Germany was not a match with Fall, however matched with Paul's brother, game over. Yeah, I mean, Paul's daughter, yeah. Paul has living family, I know the man who claims to be his son and claims he has DNA proof of this. And he has indeed, Paul has other relatives. Yep, they look nothing like Bill. Bill Shepherd, he looks nothing like Bill Shepherd at all. The only obviously if there was some kind of DNA test, you get some kind of DNA. From Bill Shepherd, it would be conclusive, wouldn't it? You can't prove whether someone's related to Shepherd or not, but you can prove whether or not Shepherd is Paul for that reason. And Bob Peart again. Here we go again. In all due respect, Bob Peart says here again, check the DNA evidence. That will make your mind up. And I think yes, indeed, I absolutely agree. And I says here, Paul's son has challenged Sir William and Paul's living relatives to take such a DNA test. Yeah, this is a guy I actually interviewed. Please do not. I'm not bloody spamming. Fucking. Oh, bastard! Put a couple of spots on there. Paul's son, who I have interviewed. I've interviewed him. I've not met him, but I know someone who knows him has met him. Has his DNA on record. He's had his genome. He's challenged Bill. He's challenged Bill Shepherd to have his DNA tested openly in a proper setting where it can be judged openly. Now Shepherd has refused. So there you are. That says an awful lot, doesn't it? Okay. And we have now. Oh, we got another. What's this one? Right. And now we have another one. New Prime Minister live stream. Okay, that's on Odyssey. Right, new Prime Minister live stream on Odyssey. What does that say? A lot of Voltec ones this time, haven't I?
Rob. So let me know if you can hear me.
Right. Okay. We have Quebec Media has posted something here, which is a link. Here we go. Oh right, it's video of the Georgia Guidestones after they've been blown up. Yay! Yes, this is Meta TV. It's a French language. Obviously, I think it's something to do with Quebec because they call themselves, or at least it's probably French Canadian because it's Quebec Media as the people who actually posted the link. And we have another one here from Quebec Media, which I will now reply to. I'm not spamming Odyssey. Shut up. What's this here? I think it's the same video. It's the same video. Right you are. So it's duplicate comments basically. Alright then. So let's go back to the notes. Okay, Apollo Detectives 9. Oh, we've already been... right, Apollo Detectives 9. Okay. Here we go. Right, so it's Odyssey. Oh no, not Rumble, Odyssey. Yeah, that's it. It was Odyssey and not Rumble, yeah. Okay. Here we go. Now we have Trust Nobody again, who says here, what solved the radiation problem? Oh, God, hang on. What solved the radiation problem in the Apollo program smells a lot like walking past a farmer's field as he's busily spreading muck. Yeah. It's a travesty that the US taxpayer is getting ripped off so daily to the tune of millions by NASA, but it's seemingly we don't go anywhere near that subject for the mainstream media puppets. That is a frustrating contradiction, isn't it? Yes, it is very annoying.
On the spacesuit and about whether they...
Okay, right. So next... Well, I think there's only a couple more left. Right, this is the last comment in my that I've archived on our chest, which is Charlie Veach is back. Oh, right, yeah. Let's find that one. I have actually changed my mind a bit on Charlie Veach since I made this video, I must say. Okay, Charlie Veach is back, Odyssey. Here we go. Okay, Trust Nobody again. Good old Trust Nobody. They seem to be a very dedicated commenter on the Odyssey. My best memory of Veach is when he attempts to shame the high street shysters who loan money to the desperate poor, the desperate and poor, at what ought to be illegally high loan sharking rates of interest. The kind of bastards who are just one rung up from the kind of scum who buy and sell one of your kidneys at a cut rate. Quite so, yeah. Charlie, you see, I used to have a high opinion of Charlie when he did things like that. I sensed that he was genuine. His recent behaviour since I made this video back, I think it was in 2017. I think I made this video. Let's have a look. It was 2018, which is when Charlie did his big return. Since then, I have to say his recent behaviour seems to vindicate the people who said he was always a dishonest and insincere person. What he's been doing is, you see, he's been doing his auditing, but he's gone back to his old auditing. He used to go and get to the police. The police used to tell him to stop filming. He said, "It's a public street, I can film if I want." Or private security he used to go on as well. Now, what's happened is, of course, the police, he lives in Manchester, they've got to know him now, and they don't rise to the bait anymore. So what Charlie does now, unfortunately, he started targeting members of the public, just any random person who he thinks who will rise to the bait, and he sticks a camera in their face until they react, and then he starts doing his, "Oh, I can film you if I want," and other things like that. And the people he generally targets are the people he calls crackheads, and these are basically homeless drug addicts who tend to be very mentally unstable and will come at him, and they sometimes approach him violently, and he kicks them back. At some point, I don't know how long he can keep doing this without getting himself seriously hurt. If he does, I would never. I hope that won't happen. Obviously, deep down, I really don't want that to happen. I don't desire it positively. But I find it difficult if someone did actually really do him some serious injury. I'd find it difficult to feel sorry for him. I would have felt that he has provoked this whole thing. He through his own behaviour, he's provoked that very response. Okay, guys, I'm now going to go back to and do a refresh on the YouTube comments. And I don't have actually held for review. Nothing in spam. Right, so I'll leave it there. Okay, I'm just going to go now to any comments that have been left on YouTube while I have been doing this video. So, and go straight to, well, there's 8. There's 8 notifications. Some of them, of course, are going to be getting me notifications of uploads, which of course they are. Yes. So 4 hours ago, Maya Tusi, Sticks Hexenhammer, Fritz Media. Alright. Lime, here we go. Alright, no, that's on one of Maya Tusi's videos. Oh, we got one from Musketeer. Okay, which one from Musketeer? It's quite a long one. I'll just put in a reply to comments. Okay. After your tomfoolery in the live stream the other night, I've unsubscribed from your channel and will not be giving it any more support by views or comments. Brackets after this one. I posted the same comment 12 times and each time you skipped over it. Bullshit! Stop lying. And each time I brought this up, you claimed you'd read out all the comments. Other people saw the comment, replied to it, and you ignored those too. You are lying. That is a complete lie, Musketeer. In the end, I was banned from commenting by your moderator, Cosmic Claire. She deleted. She didn't ban you from commenting. She deleted your posts, which were just provocative crap, and you know they were. It's obvious they were. And I think you get like a 3-minute ban or something every time you do that on live streams. The final straw though, didn't come until you insisted I was lying. Who were you trying to fool? Others saw the comment. Some replied to it. Not true, Musketeer. And I'm sure some of those watching knew it was you who was lying, not reading my comment and claiming you were. For anyone who didn't see the comment and might be interested in what Ben has to resort to, such underhanded actions not to read out, it read, "So this is what the truth movement has come to, supporting terrorism, vandalising and bomb attacks." Right. If you had posted that comment, I would not have deleted it. I would not, and I would not support Claire's move in deleting it. Although I do give Claire and Lisa, who as mods have independence to make independent judgments. And that one of the reasons I gave them the spanner was so they could do that, which means I let them. I give them a free hand in that respect. I myself would not have deleted that comment. I would have answered it this way. Right. Technically, it is vandalism. It is not terrorism. It is vandalism and a bomb attack. Yes, it was. But I don't hear you saying that about the statue of General Lee. I don't hear you saying that about the statue of Cecil Rhodes or Edward Colston in Bristol, Cecil Rhodes in Oxford. Are we allowed to destroy statues we don't like or not? Are we allowed to vandalise and break up monuments we don't like or not? As Rhiannon rightly pointed out, maybe there is a moral question over whether it was the correct thing to do, and I'm considering that. I am considering that maybe for the same reason I opposed the destruction of the Edward Colston statue. I opposed the removal of the Cecil Rhodes statue from Oriel College here in Oxford. It's a big local debate about that. Maybe I'm being a hypocrite when I cheer the destruction of the Georgia Guidestones. We did discuss that in the actual live stream. He did have a moral question about that whole thing. These issues are not necessarily always black and white, and sometimes there are questions you have to ask about whether you're doing the right thing. But if you want to unsub from my channel and have nothing more to do it, that's fine by me, Musketeer. Goodbye. Go and watch somebody else. Okay, I'll just do one more refresh now. And there are no further comments. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of the 61st comments reply video. Thank you very much, all of you. It's been great. It's almost self-explanatory, but this video could not be made without your comments, so I appreciate every single one of them. Even the rude and stupid ones, they were quite amusing. Please do keep them coming. There will be another upload very soon because I've already edited it. I've been on a tour, as you know. I've been on a tour. I have shot 2 videos on that tour. One at the Dorset Earth Mysteries Group, one at the Basis Project 2022 conference. They will be following very shortly, and of course the Fourth Kind watch party and many other things. I've got a feeling this weekend I'm going to have to do live streams about the political situation here in the UK. Thank you all for watching HPANWO TV. Hospital Porters, Pride and Dignity. Stop the New World Order.